I'll do the stretch here, and then in 10 seconds we'll make this official by starting. Lights, camera, action. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the monthly special event, I think the finest event we have in Gilbert, the Student Citizen of the Month, and we thank you for coming. I sense just a little bit of excitement with some of our students who are going to be on a holiday break starting tomorrow. Is that right? Woo! Excellent, and we thank you for all your accomplishments and what you've done. We're going to be taking pictures of each of you, and there's a card that looks like this in the back, and some of you have received it. Your picture will be out on our Facebook page later tonight, and feel free to go out there and look at it and like us and other fun things that are found on the Facebook page. We also thank our Gilbert Digital team for their efforts. And I am Mayor John Lewis, and to my left are members of the Gilbert Town Council who will be helping with the Student Citizen of the Month program. This is Councilmember Jordan Ray, Councilmember Jared Taylor, Councilmember Victor Peterson, Vice Mayor Eddie Cook, and Councilmember Ben Cooper. And Councilmember Jen Daniels, who will actually be the spokesperson for this. She's very good at that. What we will do is first make a couple of announcements, and then we'll get right on with the show. So first, December is what is called the Arizona School Tax Credit Awareness Month. This means that, especially to parents, that between now and December 31st, you are able, in support of your local school, your school district, to do a tax credit. There are forms in the back of the room. There are web pages that describe why you would want to do that and the benefit for you and your school. And you have until December 31st. There's also, inside of these green bags, information about that. Next slide. A fun activity that some of you have been to already, and if you don't know about it, at the Riparian Park, the next 2 nights, Riparian After Dark, the luminaries, there's music and fun things, and then you can also give some support to some of our local groups on the Friday and Saturday night. Next slide. In your green bags, you'll also see this sheet, and it's a thank you sheet because on December the 6th, the first Saturday of this month, we had in downtown Gilbert a Discovering Delicious Gilbert event. It was at the new 4-story parking garage that has 350 parking spaces for you and me. And you can go down there and have a lot of fun and enjoy being in downtown Gilbert. Saturdays, you have the farmers market, you have the art walk, and lots of other fun things to do. Now, in addition to that, in your green bags are a couple of what I'll call coupons of fun places. Maybe after the Student Citizen of the Month, if you're hungry for yogurt or ice cream, you could just go there if you wanted. And so the coupons you'll find in your bags. We thank you again for being here. The order tonight will be 3 groups. And we'll bring a group up at a time and then 1 person at a time. So if you're in group 1, you would be at an elementary school with the first letter of your elementary school being A to J. Ashland Ranch might be an example, and then on the other side, Islands Elementary. So if you are in group 1, we invite you to come down right now and stand behind me in this direction. Group 1. If you're a Student Citizen of the Month, come on down. And so right back here by Councilmember Ray. If, as a parent or teacher, you want to take a picture, just come down in this area, and we'll make sure you have time to do that, and then we'll be doing a group picture with all in this group 1. So we're going to ask Councilmember Daniels now to start us off. The first person will come up and stand right next to me. We'll take a picture together, and then we'll just continue on, and the person will then receive a bag with all sorts of fun things that I mentioned. Councilmember Daniels.
Thanks, Mayor. From Ashland Ranch Elementary, Austin Ban. From Burke Elementary, Devin Freeland. From Carroll Ray Ranch Elementary, Ethan Kingsford. From Centennial Elementary, Jill Hansen. From Christ Greenfield Lutheran School, Corbin Cecil. From Finley Farms Elementary, Ruth Parks.
Is this your niece, Councilmember Cooper? Okay, we're going to do this together.
From Gateway Point Elementary, Demya Tate. From Gilbert Elementary, Michael Rivas. From Greenfield Elementary, Cash Gunnell. From Highland Park Elementary, Emily Coley. From Higley Traditional Academy, Taylor West. Good job, Taylor. From Houston Elementary, Ashton Stanley. And from Islands Elementary, Brant Larson.
Group 1, great job. We're going to have you move up right here for a picture with the entire council. As they're coming up, we also wanted to thank all of our teachers, principals, any school administrators. If you were here, could you please stand and also be recognized? Oh, I guess I better get ready for this picture. Thank you to Group 1. You may be seated. While we switch batteries, we'll just say a couple more things. Dr. Kishimoto, could you come up here real fast? I mean, we need, while we switch batteries, we need just a minute. For those of you who have not had a chance to meet one of our great leaders, Dr. Kishimoto is the Gilbert Public School Superintendent. And minutes ago, she gave a strategic plan overview to town leadership and to the town council. We thank her for that. If you could give her a nice, big, warm welcome. We could, while she's changing the batteries, we could probably bring group 2 down.
Let's do it.
All right, group 2, if you are in elementary school and the first letter of your school begins from a K to Z, come on down. Come stand right behind me.
You know any dances, songs? Remember that one time Mayor Lewis made us all sing Christmas carols? I don't know. She just said I have to go switch my battery. Okay. Mayor Lewis made us all sing a Christmas carol. Oh, Gardenia has to go change her battery. Yeah.
You know, there's, while the batteries are still being switched, who to my left is wearing a Santa Claus hat? Who is that? Come on over here. Vice Mayor Cook, be introduced. And just, I want everybody to take a good look at this hat. Oh, look, there's another hat over here. Okay, very good. And is there just a holiday spirit, something like that? And anything that you wanted to be saying to the group here?
Since you were not in town, was it yesterday or maybe the day before yesterday? I had a very fortunate privilege to be part of the menorah lighting here in Gilbert, because one of our faith Jewish communities do this every year at Santan Mall, and you can come to Santan Mall because I think today is day number 3, and there's 5 more days left for the lighting of the candles. So it was a great event.
And thank you for being there and leading the town of Gilbert. We've got the batteries. We're ready to go. Councilmember Daniels, please.
From Mesquite Elementary, Troy Kempton. From Neely Traditional Academy, Liam Ethan Palos. From Oak Tree Elementary, Aiden McClary. From Patterson Elementary, Wesley Wilford. From Pioneer Elementary, Marie Stevenson. From Playa del Rey Elementary, Sasha Lee. From Power Ranch Elementary, Zoe Kopp. From Quartz Hill Elementary, Alondra Hatch.
From Santan Elementary, Andre Carrillo. From Settlers Point Elementary, Connor Norman. From Sonoma Ranch Elementary, Kirsten Brimhall. From Spectrum Elementary, Kaylin Kassler. From Town Meadows Elementary, Emma Brown. From Val Vista Lakes Elementary, Katia Duarte. And Mayor from Sonoma Ranch Elementary, Brady Campbell.
Group 2, we'll invite you to come right up here in this area. We'll do a group picture with the entire town council. Just come right up here in front. There you go. There you go, right there. Scoot down just a little bit this direction where we've got some more light. Come down this direction a little more. Okay, group 2, here's our smiling time. Please join me in giving Group 2 a big round of applause. Thank you. You may be seated. Group 3, if you are in junior high or high school, please come on down.
So you're supposed to keep your hips straight on, but turn the rest of your body at a 45 degree angle. You're supposed to like.
As they're coming down, I didn't take much time to tell you that there are some very specific reasons why these individuals were nominated to be Student Citizen of the Month. I wish I were taking time to tell you, but they're very special. And they've been noticed by many at their school, and so all that you're doing, just please keep doing it. We appreciate it. Councilmember Daniels, Group 3.
From Campo Verde High School, Justin Pack. From Gilbert Classical Academy, Connor McGetton. I think it was Connor McGettigan. Sorry, Connor. From Gilbert Early College, Daniel Waller. From Gilbert High, Hannah Mathis.
Upside down. Your plaque's upside down.
From Gilbert Junior High, Catherine Juliffs. From Greenfield Junior High, Noah Self. From Highland High School, Nicole Ward. From Mesquite High School, Riley Wechter. From Mesquite Junior High, Zara Albasrari. From Payne Junior High, Joe Dominguez. From Perry High School, Taylor Haller. From Sossaman Middle School, Bailey Nelson. From South Valley Junior High, Bryson Yamamoto. And from Williamsfield High School, Kennedy Lurie.
Group 3, if you could gather up, we'll do a picture together. You think that Group 3 is smiling because they've only got one more day of finals? Could be. So to Group 3, I'd like to say go home and just relax, but go home, study. You've got one more night. Give it everything you've got, and then enjoy the holidays and do all the great things that you've done in the past. Continue to do. Thank you. You may be seated. This concludes our favorite program of the month, our Student Citizen of the Month. Thank you for coming. We wish you the best over the holidays, and thank you for all you do in our area. If you'd like to stay for the formal town council meeting, it will begin in just a couple of minutes. But with that, this portion of the meeting adjourned. Thank you. you. In just a moment, I will be turning to Councilmember Jared Taylor to help us get the meeting going with our pledge, and then after the pledge is completed, I will be introducing the invocation. It is a pleasure tonight we have with us the Desert Ridge High School ROTC. We normally do not have a formal posting of the colors, but tonight's a special occasion, so we're grateful that they're here and they'll be recognized in the first part of our meeting tonight. So with that, as mayor, I officially call this meeting to order, our December 18th, 2014 Town Council meeting. Councilmember Taylor, please proceed.
Mayor, thank you. We're lucky to have Troop 198 here tonight. I'll ask them to introduce themselves, say their name and their rank, and then we'll go from there.
Jonah Suesua, Scout.
Rex Maxwell.
Joshua Vicios.
Fisher Curtis, Tenderfoot. Emmett Hawkins. Tanner Barney, Tenderfoot.
And Darren Vance, Scout Leader.
Thank you very much. Mayor, we are giving them a copy of the Constitution as tradition here, and this week happened to be an anniversary of the Bill of Rights, so that's kind of fun, and that's going to be here. We are lucky to have an ROTC group here to present the colors, so if you'll please stand and join us as they present the colors, and as they salute, then Jonah from Troop 198 will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oath. Oath.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2.
Military. March.
Mayor Lewis, anything that you'd like to say to these excellent young men and how they've behaved themselves tonight with presentation?
The audience may be seated. And to Councilmember Taylor, this is a great group of future leaders, but they're leaders right now, and I wanted to thank them. In our community, the Scouts do so much good through service, and it's a pleasure to have this group here working on their citizenship in the Community Merit Badge and other activities of Scouting. So carry on, be prepared, do a good turn daily, and happy holidays. Thank you. We invite Pastor Clyde Reed of the Good News Presbyterian Bible Church to come forward and offer the invocation, please.
Let us pray. Our Father, we thank you for the God you are, and we thank you that you're our God. We praise you for the people you raise up to serve you here on earth. We thank you for the mayor and the vice mayor and the council members. And we ask that you'd remind them, each one, that they are your designated people to lead your people. Grant them the realization of the dignity that comes to those who are appointed by you. Also grant to them, we pray, the realization of the accountability that they have to you. Bless them. We thank you for our town. We pray our town would become more and more enriched, and we would all be able to contribute properly. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you. Our deputy clerk will now conduct the roll call.
Mayor Lewis,
Here.
Vice Mayor Cook,
Here.
Councilmember Cooper, Councilmember Daniels,
Here.
Councilmember Peterson,
Here.
Councilmember Ray, Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Under the presentations and proclamations, there are 2 agenda items. Councilmember Cooper.
Mayor, we'd like to invite up those representing the Mesquite High School Wildcat Marching Band, if they could come forward, please. I'd also like to invite up Dr. Kishimoto, if she could come as well. Welcome, welcome. We are very, very proud of you, and we'll talk about why here in just a minute as I read this certificate of recognition. But before I do, why don't you just briefly introduce yourself?
I'm Allie Haywood, and I'm a Mesquite High drum major.
I'm Julianne Aspenson, and I'm the Wildcat Vice President. I'm Taylor Martinez, and I'm the Wildcat Band President.
I'm Riley Wechter, and I'm also a drum major.
John Davenport, band director. So the recognition, the accomplishment for these wonderful people who are representing this group of 57 individuals. Reader's Digest version. The Arizona high school marching bands are divided into 3 divisions. We fall into the Division III category of the 64 members and under. In August, 44 Division III bands registered for the our governing board, the Arizona Band and Orchestra Directors Association State Marching Band Festival. We were the only group in Arizona in Division III to receive what's known as a Superior with Distinction rating, which means that all 6 judges in all 5 categories, this is the equivalency of our Ames test. This is where we are evaluated and adjudicated based on a state level of standards off of national standards on our abilities, and all 6 judges deemed us as a superior level marching band. Well, thank you. We were one of 10 groups that were selected to go to the Arizona State Marching Championships at Glendale Community College on Saturday, November 15th, in which we scored first place. So out of 44 marching bands that started the season, we came out first place. So it's an incredible honor for these wonderful kids, this band program, Mesquite High School, and of course the town of Gilbert. So thank you very much for allowing us to be here.
I know Mayor Lewis gave me the opportunity to present this to you because about 26 years ago, I was Superior with Distinction. For another wonderful school here in Gilbert, which I won't name. It was the only high school at the time. You know who I'm talking about. Go Tigers. No. We are grateful to celebrate with you what a wonderful season you've had and the amazing achievements that you've made. And I'll just read just a quick blurb here from the mayor. We are grateful for the pride and well-deserved recognition that the Mesquite Wildcat Marching Band has brought to their school and to our community through their dedication, hard work, and commitment to excellence. These attributes made their outstanding performance every which way possible. And so we are very grateful to you, and we congratulate you one more time. So another round of applause.
And Councilmember Cooper, what instrument did you play?
The
baritone horn. If we only had one right now, we could try it out. But another big round of applause. Thank you. Councilmember Cooper, if you could just stand right there. This is on the agenda. There's also current events from the mayor, and this happens to be a special night. We will recognize Councilmember Cooper in January when a change takes place, but this is his last formal council meeting to attend. Could we have a couple of guests just come on forward? And many assignments that Councilmember Cooper has completed. One has been with the Redevelopment Commission. The Redevelopment Commission has a specific assignment right now in our Heritage District, which is downtown Gilbert. A lot of wonderful things have happened there. The chair of the Redevelopment Commission is now standing to my left, Jim Torgerson. There's something that you'd like to say, please.
Other than the defendant may please rise. Prepared a few words on behalf of the Redevelopment Committee itself. Councilmember Cooper has served as our liaison for the last 2 consecutive sessions. And under his term as Gilbert's Heritage District has and is undergoing a revitalization that is shaping the historic, symbolic center and heart of the community. Through its extensive redevelopment, planning, business attraction and retention, and expansion efforts, Gilbert has experienced an influx of excuse me, I'm a little throaty today, culinary-inspired attractions, art and cultural developments within the Heritage District. Several contributions have led to the success of Gilbert's Heritage District, including a partnership with Arizona State University's Masters of Real Estate Development program that assessed and developed solutions for vacant land within the Heritage District. And I believe you were very intimately involved with that. The recruitment of the Chicago-based St. Xavier University, a 90,000 square foot building for higher learning. Creation and designation of an arts, culture, and entertainment district in the downtown. Execution of a development agreement for the Heritage Marketplace, a mixed-use project including restaurants and office space with Phase 2 on the agenda this evening. The first ever municipal parking structure that accommodates approximately 350 additional parking spots. And finally, and probably most importantly, a comprehensive update to the redevelopment plan that utilizes a strategy of property acquisitions and disposal, allowing economic development to target companies and developers for mixed-use development. The Heritage District has become a vibrant living room for the community, and Council Member, we all thank you for your service, and thank you for continuing the great work of those that came before us. And for that, we would like to present you this.
And our Dan Henderson, Economic Development Director, if you could come down and join a picture. Let's do play-by-play here, Jim.
There's no play-by-play.
No play-by-play. We'll just, a picture is worth 1,000 words. To Councilmember Cooper, another big round of applause. And Jim and Dan, thank you. As Vice Mayor Cook will be coming to lead us in agenda item number 2, December 6th, Saturday, a big event in Gilbert. It was the opening of the parking garage. If any of you were involved in that, we're going to have you come line up right behind Vice Mayor Cook, and then he will lead the way. So come on down. Any of you involved?
Mayor Lewis, should we invite the skateboarders as well?
Oh, we could.
Well, since we have a large crowd, what I'd like you to do is just say who you are and maybe what business that you represent. And we'll just go right down the row here.
Steve Berg, Rock and Roll High School.
Jared Berg,
the same thing that he does.
Juliet Knowles, Rock and Roll High School and singer of Hamartia.
Connor, and I play bass in Hamartia.
Nolan Vogelsang, I play guitar in Hamartia.
Allie Owens, Rock and Roll High School. I'm a soloist.
Caitlin Snyder, I'm in Rock and Roll High School and I'm a soloist.
I'm Rainey Kalbick from Rock and Roll High School and I'm a soloist.
Eric Emlet, High Tide Seafood Bar and Grill.
Chris Glass, High Tide Seafood Bar and Grill.
Brian Bergeson, Bergey's Coffee Roast House.
Constance Lemire, Employee Benefit Exchange.
Pablo Reynoso, SoCal Fish Taco Company.
Bill Bobadilla, Employee Benefit Exchange.
Paige Modlin, National Bank of Arizona.
Marty Tomjanovich with Marty's Memories and More.
Vicki Songer, Town of Gilbert.
Kim Couturier, Town of Gilbert.
Gail Schmidt, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Tracy Groy, Willow Massage.
Vicki White, Willow Massage.
Kirsten Trena, Liberty Market.
Chandler Timmick, Postino Wine Cafe.
Richard Baird, General Manager of Joyride Taco House.
Jim Brandt with McCarthy Building Companies.
Gabriel Smith, Desert Ridge High, ROTC.
Cameron Gray, Desert Ridge, ROTC.
Zane Reinhardt, Desert Ridge, ROTC.
Ryan Blackburn, Desert Ridge, ROTC.
Casimir Blunchley, Desert Ridge, ROTC.
Joseph McNamara, Desert Ridge ROTC.
David Kohler, Desert Ridge ROTC.
Michael Dobbin, Desert Ridge High School, the Junior ROTC.
Tim Doran, representing the Gilbert Police Department.
Well, all these folks participated at that event where we said, discover delicious Gilbert. And it was so much fun. Can we have a round of applause for all of our sponsors and members that helped us be successful?
Not to take away from what Vice Mayor Cook just said, but it's hard to put in words how much we appreciate all the efforts. And to the residents of Gilbert, you can see that not only was it a great event, but we had great support. The old phrase, what we do together. So now together we do a group picture best we can. If you can step maybe first row about right here, for more in the light. And this will be put out on our Facebook page. And the front row up in here too. Do you want to do it in sections? Okay. All right. So this is the ROTC group first. Well, you'll do everyone. You'll try and do everyone first. Now ROTC. And now the rock and roll band and the delicious food, Gilbert. Okay. Okay. And now the rock and roll band, Rock and Roll High School. Perfect, thank you. Big round of applause again, thank you.
In case it goes long, we got plenty of energy.
Kurt, let's go back those two slides.
I'm teasing. I just wanted to.
The last part of this section, in our 6:30 Student Citizen of the Month, we announced that December is Arizona School Tax Credit Awareness Month. At the back of the council chambers are forms. These are also online, and we invite you, because December 31st is fastly approaching, that you take advantage of this wonderful opportunity for our local schools. The other slide, and Councilmember Daniels, you had a pen, right? If you can get it ready. The next 2 nights in Gilbert continues with some wonderful activities, Repairing After Dark at the Riparian Preserve, Friday, Saturday night, luminaries, and each night there's also some groups that are there to gather supplies and different things to help our community. And if you go to the Repairing After Dark, if the cameras can go to Councilmember Daniels, there's something that will be handed out, and there it is. That is fantastic. Oh, we've got several council members. Thank you. So that's the next 2 nights in Gilbert. Thank you. I just left my piece of paper. Yeah. The consent calendar Let me just brought it up for a second. The consent calendar is next on the agenda. As noted, items listed on the consent calendar may be approved by a single motion unless removed at the request of council for further discussion or action. Other items on the agenda may be added to the consent calendar and approved under a single motion. Vice Mayor Cook, what request do we have? Oh, thank you. Vice Mayor Cook has reminded me we also had right before the consent calendar communication from citizens, and we had one request. Vice Mayor Cook, please.
Mayor, we have one individual that we'd like to invite to the podium, Kathy Inman. And Kathy, if you can share with us your residence, and we'll give you 3 minutes to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, council members. I appreciate you welcoming me back. I come to you tonight. I'm a Gilbert resident since 1997. Again, my name is Kathy Inman. I come to you with a matter of great concern tonight. I saw a story in the paper that really alarmed me. 12 years ago, I took my daughter out of Gilbert Public High Schools because I had heard rumors of the heroin use that was happening in our school. Coming from a Catholic school education that I had put her through, I was very scared of that. So I took her out. I believe it's because the DARE program equated cannabis, also known as marijuana, with heroin, that it was just as dangerous. Kids began taking heroin also because of prescription opiates, because they are the same, one and the same. 7 years ago, I became a cannabis advocate because I'm a woman raised with a respect for life, and I believe that I can save lives with the truth about this substance. I didn't want moms to get another call that someone had overdosed from binge drinking or pharmaceutical use. We do lose 10 kids a month in Arizona alone, according to the Center for Disease Control. 2 years ago, I came to you guys to let you know that they were researching cannabis with cancer and that it was reversing cancer cells. Now we see it's at the National Cancer Institute's website. This year, I came down to let you know that ADHD medications, which 1 in 5 children are taking, contain the same components as methamphetamines. That, along with the fact that prescription painkillers have the same opiates as heroin, are having our kids go to the street for drugs. In fact, we see from AZ Central now that it's even more cost-effective for them to get these opiates on the street than it is from their doctor. I took this story to Sheriff Joe. I've taken it to you guys. Overprescribing is hurting and killing our children. It takes a life every 20 minutes. Our substance abuse organizations like MAPForce have expensive conferences aimed at marijuana when it's never taken a life on record. They're funded by alcohol, pharmaceutical, and gambling. With conservative values, I don't see death and debauchery as conservative values. I see saving lives and protecting kids as a conservative value. Money's clouding our decisions in Arizona. Our kids are paying the price. Center for Disease Control says Arizona has some of the most easy prescription drug laws, that it's so easy to get a prescription in this state. It's easier than many, many states. These opiates, I've seen that medical marijuana can replace these opiates, and many people are taking this for pain management. How can I get some help in Gilbert? I've gone to Bill Montgomery. He's concerned as well. Washington State has seen a reduction in teen marijuana use 21% over the past decade since they brought their medical marijuana law. Regulation and education is the key to taking these drugs out of our kids' hands, especially the deadly ones. The National Institute for Drug Abuse has a new report that teen use is down and opiate use is down across our country with this education. And I ask you guys that we take a new approach to drug education. You can check all my facts. I'm just a mom. I'm not a paid lobbyist. I operate under Mom Force AZ. And you can check the facts at my website. Thanks, guys. And I will come and talk to any one of you anytime you'd like.
Thank you. And as I have even read on the agenda, we have limitations on responding to things not on the agenda, but we thank you, and our police chief has also been giving the same message and very helpful. So we will, the website and so forth, we'll pass on to our town leadership and ask for follow-up in our future leadership meeting. Thank you. Vice Mayor Cook, as you were telling me, that was the only one on this part of the agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We will continue. And I've read the consent calendar item already, and so Vice Mayor Cook, what request do we have from the council on this part of the agenda?
Mayor, we're going to have further discussion with agenda item 3, 4, 5, and 11, and agenda items 10 and 17 were removed.
Thank you. And for the other items, plus near the end of the agenda were some boards and commission names. Please.
Right. I'd like to move that we approve agenda items 6 through 9, 12 through 16, 18 through 23, and then if Councilmember Taylor with number 33, Councilmember Cooper with 34, and Councilmember Ray for 35.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move to approve Mary Black and Brian Cienza for the Town of Gilbert, Arizona Water Resources Municipal Property Corporation, with terms beginning January 12th, 2015 and ending January 11th, 2018.
And Mayor, on 34, I move that we appoint Ryan Ernsberger as a regular member to the Fire and Police Public Safety Retirement System Local Pension Board with a term beginning December 19, 2014 and ending November 30th, 2018.
Thank you.
And for item 35, I move that we appoint Patrick Morey and Jacqueline Bolton as regular members of the Town of Gilbert, Arizona Public Facilities Municipal Property Corporation with terms beginning January 2nd, 2015 and ending January 1, 2018.
Thank you. With that motion, is there a second?
Second.
With that motion, second, please vote. Those items are approved with a 7-0 vote. Thank you. Agenda item number 3.
Councilmember Ray.
From a staff perspective, I'm not sure who is the best one to answer questions on this.
What's the question? And we'll go right to our town manager.
Okay, so I understand the point behind this with Gilbert and the other municipalities involved with the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport for giving these loans, this debt. My question is, why now? I don't know of any impending plans that the airport has where they need additional capital, and so why is this coming before us now?
Mayor, Councilmember Ray, and perhaps airport staff would be better able to address that. But my understanding is that there have been financial audits of the airport, which indicate that this amount, this so-called debt is, although not considered a debt by the Town of Gilbert, if it remains a debt, it hinders the ability or the financial position of the airport to grow and expand as they would desire. And they had been told over the, in the past year that this change needs to happen shortly, or it could affect any rating should they attempt to go out and secure financing for airport expansion.
Thank you. Did that answer the question, or have you got more?
I mean, are there, and maybe this is for the airport, is there airport staff?
Yes.
Oh, right in front of me. Are there any plans in the near future, the next 12 months, for example, to go out to get additional capital?
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Ray, my name is Jane Morris. I'm the Executive Director of the Gateway Airport. As Mr. Hamlin mentioned, first issue that raised the concern was we're within 5 years of the first $80 million maturity date. So our auditor advised us to that this would be an issue for their next audit. The other issue that I would bring to the consideration of the council is that this $120 million, which is the total principal and interest that the airport books as debt, also is a factor for private investment. So as the airport is continuing to attract private development, which is an ongoing goal of ours, is to get more private investment on the airport, this is a concern. It has been on our financial reports, of course, but it's a concern because there is no ability for the airport to pay that back. So it could, what I would present to the council is the concern that it would prevent private investment as that comes forward. And then the final answer for you in terms of specific bond issuance, we are hopeful of issuing another series of bonds related to more investment on the airport, and that is something that is merging into the next calendar year. It is not something that we have specifically scheduled. So I would anticipate within the next 12 months that the airport would try to issue bonds for more development, but it's not yet been brought to the board level.
Thank you. Other questions? Councilmember Peterson?
Is it possible for us to continue, I don't know if you can continue to date uncertain, but I would also be interested in continuing this conversation until we have an actual specific need that we're enabling the airport to fulfill by this conversion. Is it possible for us as a matter of procedure to continue it until we are brought forward with some more information about specific plans that are being held up because of this change?
Mayor, Councilman Peterson, it is possible for us to do that. Any inconvenience it might cause to the airport would be best addressed by airport staff. But the legal answer to that question, yes, it could be postponed. But that this, as you know, the council's probably aware, there are issues with, you know, this has been under study for about 9 months by the members of the airport authority, and audits are approaching such that the issue needs to be addressed.
Thank you.
But the legal answer is yes, it could be.
Okay.
But there are other considerations.
Councilmember Daniels?
Thank you, Mayor. I understand the concern. I think it's really important to note, especially for the citizens, that the town of Gilbert has never booked this as debt owed to the town. We've always booked this as an investment in an economic engine in the East Valley. And Gilbert stands to benefit quite a bit from growth of the airport, not because it's within our jurisdiction, but because it's borders our community, and we have an interest both in the decisions that are made now and the decisions that will be made long into the future as it relates to that airport. I don't understand why we would want to wait, because there's no actual benefit to Gilbert to wait, and it doesn't benefit the airport to wait. And so if we're waiting just for waiting's sake, I would ask what the purpose was. We knew, and actually I would love to know historically why the airport booked it as debt, but we didn't as a community book it as debt. And so that doesn't affect our plans moving forward as a community. If it did, I would absolutely think we should address it from a taxpayer perspective, but because it doesn't impact us directly with our financials, with our ability to see that airport grow, I would hesitate, I guess, delaying that decision.
couple of comments I'll make too. In the 2008 to 2011 timeframe, there were studies, and they were presented here in a study session. The airport was one of the assets that, through our recession, continued to provide a number of jobs and growth. And there were specific studies that were done so that the partners in the airport authority could see that. And that's something we've been able to see of the benefit it's given to Gilbert. The other, there have been significant plans, and they have been presented to the council to see the future. It won't happen overnight. And in some cases, the Gilbert Council may say, well, that's not necessarily in our community, and yet it is. And to have an airport like the Gateway Airport so close to Gilbert has a huge financial, economic impact on us. As you've seen, the plans are at some point to have an east terminal. And where we have 10 gates on the west side, the east terminal will have up to 60 gates. And at some future date, and numbers will change, but these are just some of the estimates given, that there would be 20 million passengers that would be coming through the Gateway Airport. And you put that in perspective, at the Sky Harbor Airport right now, there's about 40 million passengers. So it's not going to be as big as Sky Harbor Airport, but as the valley grows, this will be a huge asset to our community. What it does from a business standpoint is it provides business leaders a chance to say, this airport makes it very easy for their customers, for their business associates to get to and from our area very, very quickly, and so it provides a lot of benefits. So it's, I think, part of understanding the questions you brought up. There's a plan, and a lot of it has to do with steps when it makes sense, financial sense to do it. And so with that plan, we move forward in a systematic approach, in a business-like manner when it makes sense. But as far as the future of the airport, not knowing the exact date when we will reach that point, it has been a golden asset for our community and appears to continue to be in the future. And I don't, to our Executive Director Morris, to the question that was posed if we waited, do you want to, since we haven't given you a chance to answer that, do you want to make any comments about that?
Mayor Lewis, the 6-member board it has, each community has 4 of the 6 communities have already considered and have approved the change. The Phoenix was yesterday, and then the last city will be Mesa, and that's scheduled for January 12th. The point of a systematic approach to attracting private investment, attracting the available federal and state grants to build the airport is a key point for us. And this $120 million, I cannot answer why we booked the principal and interest when 4 of our partners did not. That was part of the investigating process as we looked for all the solutions. But the key for the airport, what you see today, is but a small portion of what the future will be. Mayor Lewis identified exactly our master plan, and this will be a key point for giving us the foundation for attracting that investment. And the economy is turning. We have a lot of prospects coming to the airport looking for not only real estate, but bringing business to existing buildings. And I think this would be a key deterrent to that investment.
Thank you. Other comments from the council? Councilmember Cooper.
I was just actually talking to my father about this last week, not this specific item, but just about the airport, and kind of reminiscing about the vision that leaders had when the airport was first taken from the Air Force. And it was really an investment in the community that they made then, and I still believe it's an investment that we're making in the future of our community now. And as we put ourselves in a position to capture opportunities down the road, I think we are putting ourselves in the position to have a bright economic future and success and that kind of thing. And, if it's right to make this accounting change in the future when there's a project looming. I think it's right to do now, just to make that even easier to do in the future, because you really do need to act quickly sometimes to capture opportunities. And so I'm all in favor of moving forward, and I'm ready to make a motion, Mayor. And if you'd like.
I'm about ready to entertain a motion, but is there anything else you need to say?
I just want to comment that I would prefer more specifics. We are being asked to take specific action, and I understand the general concepts. I don't know that we have the support for that, so I just want to say that my intent with this action tonight is to move us towards less taxpayer subsidy. And with this particular instance, this is not normal debt. There is no certain due date ever, and so it doesn't make it very clean cut. And so it's a tough call, but I think in this case, the shortest distance to that goal is forward. And so with that, I'm prepared to support it, although I definitely agree with some of the concerns. So I do think allowing more outside investment and more growth should lead us toward that goal of less taxpayer subsidy. Although, again, it's a tough call, and so I appreciate the concerns that have been voiced.
Thank you for the discussion. With that, I'll entertain that motion, please.
Mayor, I move that we authorize you, as the mayor, to sign a proposed amendment to the Joint Powers Airport Authority Agreement for the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, converting all existing promissory notes held by the town with the total that's shown here in the agenda, plus interest, into an equity interest in the airport when approved by all other members of the authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
With that motion, second, please vote. That's approved with a 7-0 vote. Thank you. Vice Mayor Cook, on agenda item number 4.
Councilmember Peterson.
No comment, Mayor. Just wanted to pull it so we could vote separately.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve item 4.
I second.
Okay, with that motion, second, please vote. That's approved with a 5-2 vote. Thank you. Agenda item number 5, Vice Mayor Cook.
There are a number of council members that wanted to talk about this particular item.
Who would like to go first? Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, I wasn't planning on making a lot of discussion on it, but since there are others interested, I'll just make a brief comment. I look at this agreement as, is the change in the agreement a net benefit to the taxpayer? And I personally believe the taxpayers are better off if we enforce the agreement as currently written than by amending it as proposed. The reason for that is I think this change essentially trades sure money for speculative money, and I could go into why and how, but I'll just leave it at that, and so that's why I pulled it, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Vice Mayor Cook?
Mayor and Council, I'm not going to be in favor in supporting this agenda item, and I'd like to share my thoughts behind this. The product that's planned to be on the north and the south side, to me, is not the vision that I believe should be there. And I believe that we want to maximize the amount of square footage, because we get one opportunity to do this. And I know that we've had some discussions about going more vertical in the downtown, especially on the north and south properties. And in going through the agreement, the property owners are not even going to meet the minimum. And the minimum range was 70,000 to 90,000. And they've already presented to us a plan that I don't believe that's the right product to be there. So what I like to ask the council to do is actually be patient and maybe wait a little longer as we continue to get the momentum in the downtown. We have a lot of activity that's going to happen to the east side of Gilbert Road, right across the street from this property. And I believe as we systematically develop this with our vision, I believe that there's going to be a need where higher vertical at that location will come. So I'm wanting to be patient for maybe another 12 more months, and then let's see how the market develops with our other projects going on. So I'm not in support of this particular agreement and wanting to wait.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilmember Daniels?
Thank you, Mayor. LGE has been a great partner. I absolutely love what they've built, and they have been a great community partner. I would like to see us continue this and have more discussion with them, and have our staff have more discussion with them than to see us reject the proposal tonight. I don't think that that necessarily be good for building our downtown, and they really have, they started this project in a very down economy and still plowed forward, and obviously it's worked out wonderfully for the town and for us, but and for them, but I would rather see us go back to the table with them than to reject a proposal tonight.
Thank you. Any other comments? To our town manager, for the citizens who may not have a full understanding about this discussion, can you add a few sentences and maybe even your thoughts?
Sure, Mayor, members of the council. What is up for consideration tonight is a modification with the original agreement that had some stipulations around performance, type of product delivered, deadlines for delivery of that product, and while we are very happy with the quality of what's been put in place there and very pleased with the quality of the establishments that have located there, technically they did miss the deadlines per the terms of the agreement, which triggered some penalties for doing so of the $200,000. What the staff has done is gone back to the developer to have a discussion around the missed deadlines, maybe an opportunity to accelerate the second phase of the project, to get it online sooner, give an opportunity to bring some more businesses into our Heritage District at a time in which it's getting a lot of activity and a lot of attention around the region. We did have a ongoing discussion with them about trying to add additional density down there and what type of product would be possible, from additional office to is there a second floor retail type of product out there that would work, or even potentially residential going up 2 or 3 stories to add some additional people living and working and playing in our downtown district. The residential was something of interest to them. The limiting factor there was access to dedicated parking that we would not be able to restrict in our parking garage because of the needs of the district in general. And so when it came to other available options for second and third floor spaces, they just didn't have a comfort level with the market, and this being a sub-market for office space, that they could put a product that would be viable at that location. We can certainly go back and have continued dialogue with them if that's the council's desire, to see what other potential opportunities may exist that we may not be thinking through, and bring that back at a later date for your consideration.
Thank you. And to the council, we have a hand that came up in our audience of, I think, probably representing the applicant. And would the council like to hear some comments? I know in the consent calendar that would be an exception, but okay, please. And as you saw with the other speakers, if you could state your name, and if you're a Gilbert resident, for the record, and then please.
Yes, Mayor Lewis, Lynn Lagarde. I am a resident of Phoenix, and I've been representing David Sellers and LGE over many years, and specifically on this project. I am retired from the practice of law, so I want to make clear I'm no longer David's attorney, but I have been working with him with the town to try to work out this agreement. I appreciate very much, Councilwoman Daniels, the remarks you made. I believe that David has made an incredible effort on this project. He is very, very willing to move forward and complete the second phase, most of which is spec. It is very, very difficult to get investment that would enable him to add more to what is already speculative. He's already speccing out the second floor office space above the restaurants. David committed to bringing you 2 restaurants. If he gets to do this project as he has it planned, he will bring you 7. He has done the engineering on phase 2 and is ready to proceed, but $200,000 is a lot of money. It's capital that he could put into the building, and quite frankly, if we had all been aware of the deadlines as much as we should have been, we would have come back asked you for an extension, and I believe in the circumstances you would have granted it. I believe that this imposing a $200,000 penalty on David is not appropriate, because it was simply a deadline about when the restaurant opened, and we missed it by about, I think, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not sure. But he essentially performed, and he is essentially delivering you 70,000 square feet, which is what the contract called for all along from before the time David was involved. As you may know, some of you may not know, he took over a position of a project that was failed for many, many years and had no hope of success, and David made it successful. He wants to do more projects in the town of Gilbert. We've already had some discussions and saying we'd like to explore some things, and David believes that he gets this project done, he seeds projects in the future, but he can't squeeze out of a project more than the financing will support. So if you're not inclined to act on this development agreement tonight, I would ask at the very least that you continue it and give us a chance to talk with you and to see if we can get a little bit closer to what you want, and we can show you other ways in which we can perform in the town of Gilbert. So we would appreciate that, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cook, could you support Councilmember Daniels' suggestion?
And again, you know, like I said, I'm in the position of patience. So if it's 12 months, then I'm okay with that. But again, I think the product that was given to us is below the minimum of the 70,000. I do understand and appreciate the 200,000 and the discussions, and why wasn't that part of an escrow? That doesn't bother me. It's really what I envision, what the future and what we want to do in maximizing the downtown. And I believe the one story to the north is not the right product, so that's why I'm willing to wait a little longer as the market develops, because I know that on the east side there's going to be a lot of activity, and I can only imagine that we may be having numbers of businesses that will want to come down that might provide the investment of the future to provide, more vertical in those locations. So again, I'm just here about patience, as it relates to those two parcels.
Councilmember Daniels, you offered a patience opportunity, not knowing how long, but do you want to put that in form of a motion?
Yes, and I'd like to make it aggressive patience, because we want them to move forward, and we want to move forward as well. So as a term coined by our town manager, we are using aggressive patience with all that we do here. Yes, I would move that we continue agenda item 5 until, how long do we need? We have to continue it to a date certain, so.
No, Mayor, Councilmember Daniels, we do not have to, because it hasn't been published to a date certain.
Okay.
This is just a consent calendar
So
item.
let's say the second meeting in January.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, with that motion, second, please vote. That's approved with a 7-0 vote. Thank you. Agenda item number 8. Vice Mayor Cook.
Is that? No, actually, it's agenda item number 11.
Okay.
We approved agenda item 8. And
Well, then, let's go to 11. Before we let number 8 pass by, we had a special guest here. Could our interim president of Gilbert, of the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, please stand? Chris Camacho. Welcome. Good to have you here. Congratulations on your assignment. For our Gilbert residents, the big news story today. And so Chris will be in the paper tomorrow, and thank you for being here to be part of our council meeting. So thank you. I circled 8 for no other reason maybe than to have Chris stand. So agenda item number 11, is that what you said?
Yes, and Councilmember Peterson.
Mayor, I don't have any comment. I just wanted to pull it so we could vote separately.
You know what, this is, excuse me, I'd written number 8. This is the GPEC contract. So Chris, thank you for waiting for this. So no other comments other than to have it pulled. Any other comments, Councilmember Taylor?
Yeah, Mayor, I supported this last time. I'm not going to support it this time. I'd like to, when I look at this, there's $100,000, and there's a lot of decisions we have to make. Public safety, transportation. Maybe I just need more education on the ROI of this. I'm just not seeing it to make this big of a commitment. I know as a percentage of the total budget, it's small, but it's still, you know, a public safety officer that could be keeping our streets safe. So anyways, I just wanted to explain my vote on that one.
Sure. Councilmember Cooper?
Mayor, I will be voting for it, probably no surprise. I believe that the $100,000 worth of service, if you were going to make or buy, you know, that kind of a decision, I think we get far more service, let alone the ROI and jobs and things that are created here in our community. But if we were to try to do the things that we have GPEC doing as a partner of ours on our own, I think it would cost a lot more than $100,000. So I think it's an actual, if you want to talk about cost containment or efficiencies, I think that's where this lines up for me, let alone the return on investment and being a good partner with an agency that is often the first place people look, or businesses look, when they're trying to evaluate the Phoenix area. So I will be voting in support.
Thank you. I'll add interesting memory that just came back with those comments 6 years ago. In starting the mayor's assignment, I sat down with our chief of police, Chief Doran, and said, what would you recommend would be my focus and priority, and how can I help you? And he said, if you can build a business community, that's the best thing you can do for the public safety for Gilbert. And the best group we have to build a business community in Gilbert is our Greater Phoenix Economic Council, in addition to our own staff. Amen. Okay. Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Wrong button. Move to approve item 11.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, with that motion, second, please vote. That's approved with a 5-2 vote. Thank you. So on the consent calendar, Vice Mayor Cook, did we cover everything?
We are good.
Okay.
Mayor.
We'll move to the public hearing. Let me just, with Vice Mayor Cook, on agenda items 24 through 32, do we have citizens that have requested to speak?
Yes, Mayor. Agenda item number 29, and we have 2 speakers for that.
Okay. Thank you. And as far as council desires, I do know in addition to 29, there would be some discussion on 27, but there may not be on 24, 25, 26, or 28. Would that be a fair statement? So if I were to open the public hearing on 24, 25, 26, and 28, would that be acceptable to the council? Okay. As noted on the agenda, and this is for those who have wished to speak on 29, that a public hearing comment form can be filled out, and you'll be given an opportunity to speak, and that will be tied to when that agenda item is open for the public hearing. So with that, I open the public hearing on agenda items 24, 25, 26, and 28, and I close the public hearing on agenda items 24, 25, 26, and 28, and will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve agenda items 24, 25, 26, and 28.
With that motion, second, please vote. Thank you. That's approved with a 7-0 vote. Agenda item 27, I open the public hearing on, and this, excuse me, may be not so much needing a presentation, and it could just be my comments. I support 27 with the exception of the 4638, and this is the section that talks about the alcoholic beverages that would be permitted in several of our public buildings and some of our public parks. I did go back and I did some research, and it was 89 and 91 when there were a lot of discussions in the community about having alcohol in our public parks, and there was a lot of citizen input and some important dialogue that took place from the council. My feeling is that for citizens, we have grown immensely as a community, and our Parks and Rec department are in a position where, as a service organization, they're just trying to respond to some requests, and I certainly understand that. And the feeling I have is that this service is probably one that is offered in many other locations in Gilbert. We do have roughly about 100 liquor licenses that come before the council each year. We do understand as part of our society, I think all 100 are typically approved with the 7-0 vote with very little discussion. But I look at that recognition we received this year as the 9th best place for families in the entire United States. And some of the reasons why I think our community has received a lot of accolades for being a family-friendly community would be tied to some of the things that we've done in the past. If individuals had no other options, I think I would be more inclined to move forward with this. But if someone wanted to provide a motion and keep that part out, I can support the rest of it. But on the 4638, I would not be voting in favor of.
Mayor, I think that's a fine idea. We can just move and see how that goes, and then we can vote on that separately.
Thank you.
If I could ask a question, Mayor, are you just saying to strike all of 4638 or change the language within 4638? What's the recommendation?
Keep it the way it is. So in other words, they would not become new locations in the community where alcoholic beverages could be served.
So you're okay with the current locations that's allowed, you just don't want any additional parks?
Well, Melanie, maybe you can answer that. As far as current locations, I'm not sure if there are any in our parks. Is that correct?
Mayor, Councilmember Ray, that is correct, except for when someone is doing a special event. We have designated special event areas, special event sites would be allowed to have that during their event activity as those permits would come through here. But typically, no, you cannot have alcohol in the parks anywhere at this time.
And those do come in front of the council. And yes, this would mean, and there's another benefit from efficiency, that it would mean the council would not see this in the future. It would just be the director of Parks and Rec, which I understand that too, and I think that makes sense. But did that answer your question?
In reading it, it looks to me like it is allowed in McQueen Park Activity Center, Gilbert Community Center, Southwest Regional Library, Freestone Rec Center.
Mayor, Councilmember Ray, it has been allowed in the centers, like in the facilities themselves. That is something we've had there for quite a long time. We actually came to you one of the other meetings for an update in allowing the Parks and Recreation Director to authorize the permit. Before, all those permits did come here, like during a special activity, if they're having a graduation. It's like an exclusive use of the facility at the time that they rent by themselves in order to host the rental. So that has been in place. This would have just added 4 locations in the open air parks tied to a Ramada reservation.
So, but to be clear, for the additional locations that are being suggested, that would still go through a permitting process before that use would be allowed. Is that correct?
Mayor, Councilmember Peterson, yes, right now everything else that would happen in the parks would be related to a special event or special event area, and those permits would come through the council.
So even though it doesn't say special events in here, I'm confused. In reading this, it says that they're allowed in Crossroads District Park, Riparian Preserve. It doesn't say that it has to be a special event as far as the code goes. Are you saying that there's something additional that Parks and Rec does to control that?
Mayor, Councilmember Ray, I believe it says special event areas, and then within our code in Chapter 15 also looks to that, but I believe it has special event areas is what it's currently identified
It says
as.
that with commas on both sides, but it doesn't say within special event areas of those parks. It says
The special event sites are defined within the fee resolution of the special events, which is Chapter 15. So we have always authorized those. We haven't actually had anybody approach us right now for an event activity of that site, but it was approved if, as a special event site, they could come with a permit to do that.
And so the short answer, and it might be clarified, is I'm just not anxious to add anything else. Councilmember Cooper?
I agree with that. I'm seeing special event permit also, and maybe that relates to them being able to have alcohol in those specific centers where it's already allowed. But I don't feel a need to expand that at all right now. I feel pretty comfortable with the way the code is right now on that specific item.
Vice Mayor Cook?
Melanie, let me just get a bit understanding here. In the new language, if a general public were to bring an ice cooler of beer to the park, they're not restricted from that. Is that correct?
Mayor, Councilman Cook, yes, they are restricted from that. They may
Because
not
I was trying to understand the language here, because it was talking about an agreement with concessionaires, contractors, licensees, or according to state law. I didn't see anything related to the public. And then special events, special something. I just don't see where it says we're preventing the general public, like if they were to bring it on their personal to the park. I guess I'm a little confused by the language here.
Mayor, Councilmember Cook, because it basically says no person shall possess or consume alcoholic beverages within town recreation facilities or riparian preserves except as set forth below. And so when it does not call out Freestone Park, Crossroads Park, Discovery Park, or McQueen Park, when those are not identified, you may not have it in those locations. So right now, it's only identifying the centers in which that you could have those by permit. And it also identifies BLD because that is a contractor that has that ability within their restaurant,
Right.
Arizona Ice. So it's identifying the specific locations that you are able to have that activity. But because the parks are not noted by name, they are excluded based on the beginning sentence of A, where it says you may not have them in town recreation facilities, because our town recreation facilities are defined, and we list all of our parks as part of those recreation facilities.
All right, so if I understand the language, if the general public wanted to bring beer and go through the process, it sounds like they have to consume it at a very specific location, which looks like the Ramada.
Mayor, Councilmember, currently they cannot do anything. If this
understand
was to pass, that would be correct. They would have to have a Ramada reservation, then they would be issued a beer or wine permit in order to have that available at their Ramada during their reservation time. Currently, you are not able to do that.
All right. As it relates to our general public, has there been a large demand that our residents would like to drink alcohol at our parks?
Mayor, Councilmember Cook, as noted in my council communication, when we take reservation calls, half a dozen every week that are calling to make a reservation are asking the question on whether or not they may have alcohol during the reservation. Currently, the answer is no, but that is, and then our rangers will get some other, when they go through and check reservations, there's other requests, or they may note it, and then they request that they put it away. There has not been a formal action by any group that has come forward requesting this service.
So again, I guess maybe I'm asking, are we trying to solve a problem by adding this because we're getting a large amount of requests?
Mayor, Councilmember Cook, it's just something we have heard as an interest by our customers when they do call. It is a common question that we do receive, and so it is something that we just look to approach. It is common in other municipalities. All of generally the surrounding jurisdictions other than Queen Creek do allow for this service, so this is just something we brought forward as an option.
Councilmember Taylor?
Mayor, I agree with your comments, and I'd be happy to make a motion if we're ready for that.
One follow-up question. What was Parks and Rec's response to this? I mean, I know that they are in favor of it. Did they express some of these same concerns? I don't know if that's better for you, Melanie, or for Jared. I don't know who was at that meeting, but.
There was probably more discussion on the other items than this item, but if I remember correctly, as a bulk, they approved it unanimously, but I think they spent time on some of the other items a little bit more. Melanie, would you add anything to that?
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, there was not any in-depth conversation regarding this item.
And I think, as was stated, it's trying to respond as a service organization to provide another service. And as a compliment to Councilmember Peterson, I am quoting you, and you can rephrase this, that let's let the public that provides these services do what they do best and do what we do best with the other services. Didn't quite have word for word on that, but Vice Mayor Cook?
I'm wondering if,
For the private organizations, I should say, do that.
I'm wondering if we might do a one-year try at one particular location, just to kind of get a feel if there's such a demand for this request. Instead of opening up to multiple locations, I see maybe we just do a one-year trial period at one location. Do folks?
Do you think that's going to move us from the 9th best place for families to be up or higher? I mean, you might. You might, and if you do.
That I have a lot of friends and families that would probably like to have alcohol at a park, at a Ramada, and I'm not sure I want to, limit that.
Well, they haven't had it in the past, and they've got many options. And if they didn't have options, but I appreciate those comments.
I think if there is a motion to eliminate that, I'm going to try to amend it to have it at one location.
Well, let's move forward. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the ordinance modifications in agenda item number 27 as presented in the agenda and in our packets with removing the modifications in section 46-38.
Is there a second?
Second.
And I would like to amend that where we try one location for a trial period just to see how that might participate. I'm not sure where that location would be. I have no data.
How about Freestone Park?
How about McQueen?
McQueen Park.
Closer to your house, McQueen.
Any recommendations?
Mayor, Councilmember Cook, I would recommend Freestone if we were to try a pilot location.
I'm not sure I'll get support for that, but I'll say that.
I have a question, though, real quick on that, just some clarification, if you might, Vice Mayor Cook. What are you waiting to see? I mean, what are we going to be judging this pilot program on?
Well, the only reason why I have no feedback from anybody as to this being good or bad, and I'm not sure that the public has really chimed in, other than our Parks Board that represents. I just don't have a feel. And I feel like if staff has brought this up, there must be some reason other than we've been asked to do this. And I'm okay in going for a trial period to see if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
So a year from now, how will we determine if it's been successful, if we would expand it? Or I just want to understand kind of what are we looking for in a testing period?
That's a great criteria that maybe staff can help facilitate a criteria. I don't know what the answer is for that.
Mayor, for my part, what I'd like to see is just some feedback over the trial period from the public and from staff and from all involved. This is public property. I may surprise some people here. I don't feel as passionately about people's right to use it however they please. It's public property. The public has a right to say how it's used. That's fine. But I think we can get some public feedback over the next year if we have a trial period and see how it goes. And I think that's valuable information. So, and then we can take that and make further action according to that feedback.
Councilmember Ray?
Maybe here's a compromise. What if we were to vote on everything except for 46-38? We can, because there's no rush to get this done tonight. We can talk with staff and see if there is appropriate trial period, what the end goal would be, what the steps would be in between. Quite frankly, I think that what's being said is not correct as far as what this document says. And so I would like to get some clarification there. I think that someone could go today and consume alcohol in those parks and we couldn't do anything about it as far as this code is written. And so I would say we vote on everything except for that section, have some additional discussions on that, and then decide what comes forward.
Let me just look to our legal counsel, because we have a motion, we have an amendment to the motion.
And I believe we had a second to the amendment.
Right.
And so we have discussion. So unless the maker of the motion is willing to withdraw it, a vote should be held on the amendment and to see if the original motion is amended by the proposed amendment.
Vice Mayor Cook?
Well, can you concur what Councilmember Ray said, is it that confusing where he believes that the language that's in there now, someone could come in and we couldn't do anything about that?
I believe subsection A makes clear that no person shall possess or consume alcoholic beverages at these facilities except as set forth in the specific listed places below.
And it has parks listed there. That's my concern. There's parks listed in that section, and so I think it would be, if the people are willing to withdraw their motions, I think that would make sense to postpone a vote on this.
I'd be willing to withdraw my second if we can go back to the original, if everyone else withdraw, and we can propose approval minus the section and continuing that section to a future date.
Mayor, I think that's what the motion was. I said remove 46-38.
But not for future discussion. That's the important point. Would that include for future discussion at a future date? Because otherwise, there's no guarantee it ever comes back to us.
No, but I'd be happy to add that if that's the appropriate wording.
So we have a motion to remove section 4638 and a second. We have a motion to amend the proposed 4638 to include adding Freestone Park. We have a second to that, which has been suggested has been removed, but I believe that that's not effective until the maker of the motion, Vice Mayor Eddie Cook, is also willing to remove his motion. Yes. Because you've had a second on the amendment that should be voted upon, unless the maker of the motion wishes to.
Just a second. The cameras zoom in. Go ahead.
Can I put on my Christmas hat on? I will withdraw my motion with the guarantee that we will have a discussion about this.
All right, you rephrased your motion. Do you want to
Would you like me to restate it?
Please.
Okay. Tell me if this works. All right, Mayor, I move to approve the ordinance modifications in agenda item 27 as listed in the agenda and presented in the packet, removing section 46-38 and directing staff to come back with additional thoughts or recommendations on a trial period as discussed at our meeting tonight.
Second.
Okay.
Is there, Mayor, Councilmember Taylor, is there a date by which you'd like to have that done? Are we thinking?
Is it required to do that, or can we let staff put that forward as makes sense through their discussions?
I think Eddie's fine to defer to staff from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'm referring to staff, but
we would have to republish, but that can be done.
And I think I'd like to have the Parks and Recs Board participate in that discussion as well.
Okay. So do they have a cycle?
No date is necessary.
We don't need a date. All right. So with that motion second, we are prepared to vote. Please. Let's approve with a 7 vote. Thank you. I closed the public hearing. You know, I probably needed for our deputy clerk to close the public hearing before that vote. Okay, I did. Thank you. All right, we open the public hearing on agenda item 29. And to our town attorney, do you want to give the quick overview on 29?
Mayor, members of the council, you'll recall that even before my arrival in June of 2013, this matter was brought because our code was inconsistent with state law. And at the meeting in June of 2013, it was asked that staff return with 3 proposals. Staff did so in the first meeting in August of 2013. One of those proposals was successful on a 4-3 vote, but a motion for reconsideration was made for that then successful proposal, and it was seconded, and it was voted, so it was reconsidered under Robert's Rules of Order. Under Robert's Rules of Order, a motion that is successfully reconsidered is voided. So consequently, our code still exists as it did in June of 2013, inconsistent with state law. It doesn't quite read that way, but the subsequent reconsideration calls into question the language that was passed in the August 13 and the second of the 3 meetings I've been discussing in August 2013. Consequently, it is proposed in Section 29A that we rescind that particular section of the code and simply revert to state law, meaning that someone could be asked to remove a weapon only if lockers are made available. And so that's where we come before you now, and that's 29A. 29B is a proposed policy for when town staff and which town staff could direct a member of the public to remove a weapon.
Thank you. The recommendation, it sounds like on 29A, we would move forward very quickly because that's what council has requested. And that
we could do that, and that would, and these can be, of course, done independently in separate votes.
Okay. And I know that we've got some thoughts on the 29B, and we've got 2 that wish to speak. On the 29A, as a council, are we prepared to just move forward? Okay. And let's do it then. Well, let's see. We need, would I close the public hearing on 29A and we can move on to 29B?
You could. I don't know if anybody wishes to speak on Section 29A, or if it just says 29. So they should probably be asked if there's anything with regards to the state law or the policy they wish to address.
Gordon Nelson, do you wish to speak on 29A or was it 29B? Okay, let's just move forward is what the council's saying, so please.
Okay. We'd like to invite Gordon Ray to the podium. If you can state your name and if you're a resident in Gilbert, and we will allow you to have 3 minutes to speak. And then on deck will be Nelson.
My name is Gordon Ray. I've been here before, and I'm sure this isn't the last time I'll be here. I have a couple of hot buttons, and one of them's being pushed a little bit tonight. I will stand up for individual choice and freedom at all costs. I believe in the Constitution of the United States and believe it is a God-inspired document. Our government has strayed far away from the principles of the Constitution. I have here with me tonight a copy of 2 very old publications. One is the Constitution of the United States, and the other is the 1928 Webster's Dictionary. And from the Second Amendment to the Constitution we read, and you've all heard this, well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. In reading from the 1928 Webster's Dictionary under infringed, it says to break as contracts, to violate either positively by contravention or negatively by non-fulfillment or neglect of performance. A prince or a private person infringes an agreement or covenant by neglecting to perform its conditions, as well as by doing what is stipulated not to be done. Number 2 says to break, violate, to transgress, to neglect, to fulfill, or obey, as to infringe a law. And number 3 says to destroy or hinder. So infringe means even to hinder, and hinder means anything that hinders. Okay. I have a copy of the state law, and the state law allows a town to comply simply by not doing anything to infringe on the right to bear arms. Freedom has a price to pay, and letting the people bear arms anywhere is part of that price. The safety of the people does not trump the rights guaranteed to us by the Constitution. Any law or town ordinance that infringes on our Second Amendment right is a violation of our Constitution and your oath of office. Gun-free zones rub me the wrong way, just like the government setting up free speech zones or free speech areas. Both violate the Constitution. For your information, the gun lockers installed and purchased without the council approval was an act that violated the Second Amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'd like to invite Nielsen Ray. And Nielsen, if you can state your name and if you're a resident in Gilbert, and we'll give you 3 minutes to speak.
All right, my name is Nielsen Ray. I don't currently live in Gilbert. I grew up in Gilbert, and I work in Gilbert. Spend a lot of time there. Tonight you're being told that you have to pass this ordinance to comply with state law, ARS 133102.01, and that is very misleading because the state law says that if you take away the people's God-given right to protect themselves, you have to have locked boxes at the entrance of the building. In policy statement number 2014-09, weapons in government public buildings, there are 2 points added that make it more restrictive than the state law. By passing this policy statement, you will be adding more restrictions beyond what the state law is requiring. And I have those statistics if you want me to state them. We want our leaders to stand for the Constitution and our government and our God-given rights and not follow and believe those that are pushing for stricter gun control in Gilbert. Law-abiding citizens will always follow the constitutional laws that Gilbert Town Council passes. If you, council members, are not going to guarantee that no one can come into the public building with a gun, then please do not take away my God-given right to protect myself, my family, and any other citizen if needed in Gilbert public buildings. A city employee have said this is on the honor system and is not a guarantee that everyone will follow it. I do have honor and will follow the law and not bring my personal protection weapon into the building. But if and when a mass shooting does take place by a person with no honor, you may wish an honorable citizen was there to protect those that needed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Cook, any other requests?
No, Mayor.
Okay. I will proceed to close the public hearing on 29A if that still is the desire of the council, and looks like it is, so I will do that. And we'll entertain a motion on 29A.
Mayor, I move that we approve agenda item 29A.
Is there a second? Okay, with that motion, second, please vote. That's approved with a 7-0 vote. Thank you. On 29B, there have been some dialogue with our town attorney and some feedback that was given, and so please, Councilmember Peterson.
Mayor, I'll be as brief as possible. Hey, I am getting better at that, you have to admit. The state law, I just want to make one clear statement. It's been made here, but the state law only limits the town's options when the town wants to keep citizens from bearing arms. We have to keep that in mind. It has always been allowed. We have always been allowed to let people carry. In fact, we've only been prohibited when we want to limit that ability. So I just need to clarify that. In my view, the current proposal that staff has provided is a violation of Second Amendment rights. and it maintains the same bad honor system gun-free zone policy of the past. My proposal, and I'm going to pass it out here so everybody can see it, but my proposal is a compromise. I'm going to say that frankly. It is a compromise based on the last time we had this discussion. I couldn't get it passed without the compromise, so I'm trying a compromise. And it's simple. My proposal allows, but it does allow armed police officers to ask citizens to store their firearms unless they have a CCW permit. At a minimum, unless we have at least one good guy with a gun around to protect us from bad guys with guns, we shouldn't take people's guns. That's just common sense to me. So with that, I have some language I just passed to you. It accomplishes that end, that allows police officers, if they're worried about someone, they're suspicious, to ask them to give up their firearm. That would be the only case that would be allowed, and I think if I had my first preference, we would maybe not even go that far. But that's that, and so I would love the feedback on that proposal.
Thank you. So our town attorney, deputy manager are wanting to put this on the screen so that citizens can see it.
FYI, the language that I have for the proposal did come from our town attorney. I didn't plan on the overhead. I'm sorry, I should have done bigger font.
Thank you. Other feedback from council members? Vice Mayor Cook?
Actually, I have different type of feedback, but somewhat maybe similar. This is probably one of the hardest agenda items that we've discussed, and for me, it's been a personal turmoil because I was the one that did the reconsideration a while back. I've had many, many discussions with staff about this and had met in a couple meetings with staff. And the state statute that does allow, the ability for municipalities to prohibit guns in a public building was the locker solution. But the problem to me was, well, how do you enforce the locker without having some other process or mechanism in place? So we spent a lot of time chatting about what those options could be. And obviously, the one that could possibly work would be similar to what we have at the courts, which was metal detectors. Well, it seems like we as a council, staff, maybe even the public, didn't have the appetite to spend the type of money to have some type of process or technology that would, in a sense, do our very best to guarantee that an individual entering into a public facility would basically be checked. So I think the idea of having that type of technology being too expensive was in a lot of ways not a go. And then again, I allowed staff to try to give me any opportunity to come back and help me work through this. Because if we can't guarantee the public this protection because of a bad guy coming in, because they're not obviously following potentially the laws, help me work that out. Well, we didn't come out with any, what I call a solution that met that criteria. So we then looked at our neighbor to the north, which was Mesa, and I like to pass out to all of you their policy, and I'll give this copy to Mike as well.
While it's being passed out, Vice Mayor Cook, is this a completely different proposal? And
I think it's different only because what I'm going to suggest is that B be continued if we get support on that. And for me, what I came up with, very similar to Councilmember Peterson, is that I believe that if in Mesa they will allow an individual with an authorized concealed weapon permit from Arizona to carry a concealed weapon in a public building. And the reason for that is because that individual who gets a permit has been given some training that's been sanctioned. They are fingerprinted and also have a criminal background check on that individual. And more than likely, an individual that is seeking a CCW permit is someone that does want to protect themselves from potential any harm. And that, to me, I felt like was also a good compromise to allow any individual that felt that there was no guarantee of their public safety. At least I would have a good sense that that individual carrying a CCW in a public building is probably the type of person that would be honest and law-abiding, and I was okay with that compromise. But anyways, there's a lot of other issues in the MESA policy that leads to other discussions as it relates to, who can approach an individual and so forth, and different things. So that's why I wanted to present this to the council. I feel like if we get support for, changing what was given to us in our agenda to more reflect maybe MESA, I'm open and continuing B for staff to come up with the idea of an individual being allowed to carry a concealed weapon.
Now, just to clarify, Councilmember Peterson's proposal does include concealed weapons permit.
It does, but I think there's other policies that maybe in the MESA one that I might.
So what you're saying is, I'm hearing your support for Councilmember Peterson's, but maybe to have council leadership take more time and look at what MESA does.
And the reason why I mentioned that is because in talking with staff, what is the trigger if someone who's suspicious that's in a public building, does that individual, and I was looking for a, town policy, if a town employee saw someone suspicious, not carrying a gun, but was just suspicious, maybe they had a package, what would be the action? Would they themselves go up to that individual, or would they call PD? So again, I was looking at it more as a higher level of just being an individual being suspicious, not necessarily, carrying a firearm. So that's kind of the discussion that I was hoping to have in the continuation of Part B, as to look at it as more of a global policy where firearms would be potentially included in that.
Thank you. Other comments from council members? Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, I think there's two essential differences to what Vice Mayor Cook is discussing versus what I've proposed. One is that he would like the discussion to be broader than just firearms. The other difference, I think, is that potentially it would be more restrictive, meaning that only CCW permit holders would be allowed to carry. My proposal is not restrictive in that manner. So it's different in two ways. If we're forced to vote tonight, and that's the best I can get, I might consider it, but I think this is a better proposal. I appreciate, in fact, I incorporated the comment about CCWs from ideas I heard from Councilmember Cook, and don't worry, I just talked to him and Jared. We've kept the open meeting law. But that's the differences.
Okay. Other comments?
Mayor, if I could maybe provide some guidance, members of the council. Right now, under the scenario that you mentioned, Councilmember Cook, if staff should see someone acting in a suspicious manner or have concerns about that they may have something on them in their possession that they should not, the protocol would be to call the police department and let a uniformed officer come and respond to that situation and handle that situation, because they are the ones trained in how to do so. So under your proposal, I think if you set the policy tonight, the staff has the guidance they would need in regards to the CCW permit holders being allowed to continue to have that concealed weapon on them, and everyone else being asked to utilize the locker. And again, if there were any concern, we would call the police department to respond and handle the situation.
Yeah, so to me, I'm back to in the proposed policy statement, item number 2, where it says any town employees can direct visitors to the weapon storage locker, and I'm assuming they recognize that maybe that individual, is carrying a weapon. To me, that is almost suspicious, because you don't know if that weapon is, again, a real firearm or one of the ones that have the orange tip on it. So that's why I brought that up, where I think an employee, in my mind, should probably contact the police from the very beginning. And that's the only reason why I brought that up, because you just mentioned a policy, which I appreciate and agree with. I think maybe it should also be reflected in item number 2.
If I could ask Mayor, Councilman Cook, so that it be a uniformed police officer that approaches the individual and directs them to put the weapon in a storage locker?
I think if an employee saw an individual not performing that task, I'm guessing that we would have that individual called the PD, and then the PD would come and verify if that one is truly a firearm or if it's a toy gun.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Sure. I believe that we're probably saying the same thing they would. I think, as with any policies of the town, if we would see someone with a sidearm, any employee would, of course, direct them to place it in the locker if they are not a concealed weapon holder. If they should meet any resistance, any reluctance, if they say they are a concealed permit holder, we would contact PD to come over and either take the situation over from there or validate that they are, in fact, a valid CCW holder.
Okay.
So, based on Councilmember Peterson's proposal, there are some additional things that town leadership could do to take the Mesa document and refine some of the procedures. Okay. Councilmember Ray, what are your thoughts on Councilmember Peterson's proposal?
I just saw it for the first time, like all of us did, and so I'm reading through it a couple times over to make sure I understand it. I think it's well done. I think I would support it.
Councilmember Taylor?
I'm sorry, we were talking about the comparison of this to
I
our state
interrupted
law,
him,
so
sorry.
I apologize. Maybe.
Sorry, and I was turning this way, and I didn't realize
I did
you.
have a couple of additional questions as well, but maybe if you could rephrase your question so I could answer that, and then maybe follow up with a couple of.
It was more just to get a feel for, on Councilmember Peterson's proposal, how the council's feeling.
I do like it. I do have a couple of questions on it, though. I
Please.
like where it's going. If I may, Mayor. So is there a reason why the word armed is in front of town police officer versus like sworn? So maybe there's someone whose gun is in repair, or is that word in there deliberately?
Yes, it is. So town police officer, I think, implies they're sworn, but the armed part is just what I said. We want a good guy with a gun around.
Right.
If you're going to be asking other good guys with guns to give up theirs.
Okay.
So that's the point.
Okay.
And furthermore, if there is an altercation and resistance on the part of the person being asked to surrender their weapon, I don't want some unarmed, untrained employee having to try and deal with that. That could escalate very quickly and become a problem. So.
Okay, and then my other question is, I don't read this as including things like tasers or stun guns or other devices that people might have just for some self-protection. Am I reading that correctly? Maybe that's for our counsel there.
Mayor, Councilman Taylor, it's deadly weapon, and so I don't believe tasers or stun guns are classified under deadly weapons.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Those are the questions I had.
Thank you. Councilmember Daniels?
Thank you, Mayor. I, like many others, have really struggled with this. There is not an easy answer for me when it comes to this. I've had lots of interesting conversations with individuals over the last couple of days. One thing I would like to just make a statement. We've gotten lots of emails that say that it's your God-given right to carry a gun. Last time I checked, no one was born with one. And I believe that it is your constitutional right to carry a gun, but not necessarily a God-given right. And I think there's a difference there. You do have a God-given right actually to defend yourself, but that doesn't necessarily mean a God-given right to carry a gun at all times. I'm more inclined, Mayor, to allow guns if it was just town hall, because I feel comfortable with the added security that we have here. But when we're talking about Freestone Rec Center, and we're talking about McQueen Activity Center, and we're talking about other fire stations, other town-owned buildings that really are considered public, I think it becomes much more difficult to enforce. We could say, okay, if someone's acting suspiciously, we'll just have an officer ask them. Well, officers just generally aren't at a fire station, and they're not generally walking around Freestone Rec Center. So how do we, at that point, enforce that ordinance? In an interesting conversation, the state capitol right now, and some of our legislators actually believe that the law that was passed is unconstitutional, that lockers really are unconstitutional requests. And I thought that was interesting because here we are being asked to comply with a state law that may or may not even be really valid. So again, I've really struggled with this. I'm not one to kick the can. You guys all know that about me by now. But I would like to explore how we're going to enforce this. If we're going to say anyone with a concealed weapons permit is allowed to carry, how do we approach those? I think you've brought up some good points in the Mesa ordinance. There's some things maybe that we haven't addressed yet. And really, my concern is not this building. My concern is other buildings, other town-owned facilities that maybe don't have the police presence that we have here. So again, I struggle, but that's where I am right now.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yeah, I was okay with the way the policy statement was written, understanding that there's the concealed carry conversation, if that is implicit or if it can be added. I mean, that makes sense to me. I'm really just seeing this Mesa policy for the first time, and there is a lot of good meat in here. So, I'm not sure I'm in a perfect position to completely answer this question tonight. And of course, this is my last chance to do it. But if I run again in 20 years, maybe we'll still be talking about it. So I'm not really prepared to make a lot of changes to what's before us. I think there's a lot of validity in in this compromise position, though, too. So let's either discuss it more, or let's just see what kind of motions are made.
Thank you. Is this the fourth time that we've had it as an agenda item? And part of, I think all 7 have expressed strong desires to our Second Amendment. Some of the challenges have been, in addition to what Councilmember Daniels just described in buildings outside of here, in I think our second discussion, and I have not talked to these individuals recently, so things could have changed, but prior to our second discussion, I did talk to several individuals in this building, and their feedback was that they would be very concerned if someone were to have a weapon and they didn't know them, and that they were coming back into some discussions, and even in the building next door, there are often discussions that occur, unfortunately, where it might be with the developer, it might be with someone that doesn't agree with a member of town staff, and unfortunately, in frustrating situations, there could be some challenging times. And so the employees were the ones that said they were very fearful of what the council was about to approve. And so I don't have an answer for that. I just know that was something I brought up last time that also caused me to struggle with what's going to be best in addressing this issue and trying to follow the state law. And I struggled with it. And I don't have an answer yet. I just know that in making sure that we are meeting the needs of the citizens and keeping their rights, there are rights of the town employees, and some said they would be fearful, and it would cause a tremendous amount of stress for them if someone walked in with a weapon. And I don't know how to address that, but let me just maybe turn to town leadership, because you have been trying to also guide us, and based on the conversation we just had, with a proposal, with a document from Mesa, and trying not to kick the can in coming up with a decision. Do you have any direction or help that you could give us?
Mayor, members of the council, and I'll also defer to Town Attorney Mike Hamlin. As I listened to all the statements made by our council members, I thought I took that there was general consensus in regards to concealed weapon holders to be allowed to keep their weapon on them in town facilities, and that if there were any questions that staff would direct individuals to utilize the lockers if it was clear they had a weapon on them, and if they produced the card or they became non-compliant with that we would then involve a uniformed police officer to come and take the situation over from there. And that there was one, Councilmember Daniels, who has some questions about facilities outside of Town Hall, such as the Freestone Rec Center, that may be a location that she doesn't feel as comfortable with. In regards to a compromise by staff tonight, one option that you could employ is to direct the town manager to come up with a policy that he feels is appropriate for our public buildings that follows the general guidance established by you in regards to concealed carry holders being allowed to maintain those weapons. Short of that, I'll turn it over to Town Attorney Mike Hamlin for any other thoughts he has.
And one question to our Town Attorney: because of the vote on 29A, from a legal standpoint, don't we need something tonight or very soon?
Mayor, members of council, at some point we do need some type of direction, because the law states that town staff may request, but there's no direction either from a manager or from the council, what that direction is. With regards to the comments made by the town manager, Councilman Peterson's motion is slightly different in one respect, in that only an armed police officer, as the motion's proposed on the board, only an armed police officer could ask a guest or a visitor to store the weapon in a locker. So if a suspicious person came in, or a non-suspicious person who was, said, I have a weapon, or you could see that it was a visible weapon, then the clerk or the receptionist, the first staff person to interact with that person, could ask, do you have a weapon? The answer is yes. Or if they felt nervous or concerned, their first response would be to ask to call the police, because only under that proposal, only the police officer, armed police officer, could ask that person to store a weapon. So it wouldn't be staff asking someone a non-sworn staff asking someone to store a weapon and then calling the police only when that person resisted or otherwise acted non-compliant.
And that would be the Freestone Rec Center scenario, where they would call a police officer and there would be a certain length of time.
Mayor, members of the council, that's correct.
Okay. Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, can I make a motion now and just kind of see where people are? Is that appropriate? Mayor, I move.
Sorry, one quick question. I'm sorry for interrupting. And probably PD is the chief, maybe the only one that can answer this for me. But if someone, either ill-intentioned or not, just maybe showing off, if you will, gets their gun out and is, essentially brandishing their weapon in any way that even might not be threatening, but would be considered inappropriate, don't they fall under a different law? I mean, isn't there already a law that they're breaking by, I guess, getting out I think you can open carry in Arizona, right, without?
Mayor Lewis, Councilmember Daniels, there are laws that govern under disorderly conduct. If somebody displays a weapon in a threatening manner or creates a disturbance by displaying a weapon, would be covered under some sections of the disorderly conduct statute and weapons misconduct statutes.
I just wanted to be sure, because if someone has a concealed weapon and they're not acting suspiciously, probably happened in this building multiple times. No one says anything unless they feel threatened by your weapon. I mean, that's not, and I think we should be clear, this has never happened at Town Hall. To my knowledge, it's never happened in any of our public buildings where this has been an issue. Has this been an issue in any of our buildings, whether someone has or does not have a firearm or refuses to put it in a locker or anything?
Councilmember Daniels, we've gotten reports of people with weapons that we've responded to in the past that were not causing a disturbance that we dealt with, but to my knowledge, we have not had any calls for service in reference to somebody recklessly displaying a firearm.
Thank you.
And Vice Mayor Cook, and then we'll come back.
Before the motion, I still feel that there probably needs to be just a little bit more vetting with staff based upon the information from Mesa and what Councilmember Peterson provided.
Sure.
And again, I'm open for a little continuation of that,
Now,
but I think the direction is to focus on allowing a authorized CCW permit.
If we did some vetting, just to hear how Vice Mayor Cook is feeling, then we'll come right back to you, Councilmember Peterson. 29A has been approved. We need something fairly soon, and so one option could be the manager comes up with a policy while it's being vetted. And if 7 council, or if the majority of the council members want to do that, I would suggest we do that, just so there could be something from a legal standpoint while there's some vetting. How do you feel about that?
I guess the question is that required, because we obviously have been without this for some period of time already. So I'm not sure.
Mayor, members of the Vice Mayor, and members of the council, at some point we would need a policy, but a month will not make.
I agree with you on that.
Councilmember Peterson.
Mayor, I move to amend the proposed policy. Oh, no. I move to approve the proposed policy with the following amendments. Striking paragraph number 1 and amending paragraph number 2 to read, any armed town police officer may direct a visitor to weapons storage lockers and ask them to store their deadly weapon therein unless the visitor is in possession of a current valid concealed weapons permit pursuant to ARS section 13-3112, and then strike the remainder of that paragraph.
And would you also, with Vice Mayor Cook's suggestion, direct town staff to incorporate some of this document if it makes sense? In other words, maybe better stated, just to ask them to review
Sure.
this and see.
I can include, yes, in my motion for further comment from staff on City of Mesa's policy and the advisability of adopting some of those portions. That's fine.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Oh, excuse me. With that motion, is there a second?
Second.
And Mayor, before a vote on that motion, I'd request another slight change. A typographical error was noticed in paragraph 5, where it says personnel vehicle on town property. That should be changed to personal vehicle on town property. We don't wish.
My motion includes that correction.
Okay. And one other comment, Mayor. The paragraph 4 indicates that armed visitors are not allowed in secure areas of municipal buildings. That's intended to include police, prosecutor, and court facilities pursuant to state law. And so I just wanted the council to be aware that that phrase, as I wrote it, was intended to allow armed visitors not in the police facilities, prosecutor facilities, or court facilities, and that's consistent with ARS section 133118B.
Does that also include secure areas of this building, Mike? Anything that you'd basically need a badge to get into?
No, the state law is written so that municipal judicial department, law enforcement agency, or prosecutorial agency.
So that would mean anywhere in this building would be acceptable.
This sentence, armed visitors are not allowed in secure areas of municipal buildings, has a twofold meaning. One is the secured area of this building, or you know, the public's not usually allowed any place in a fire station. So those would be secured areas. But it also includes, or intended to include, a municipal judicial department, law enforcement agency, or prosecutorial agency. Not that any language needs to be changed, but I just wanted to make clear that that's the intent of that section as written.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Just to clarify, so you're saying an unsecured lobby of the police department would also be an area where they would not be allowed to have, even though, I mean, it's a secured facility, but it's not that portion of it. Is that what you're saying?
Municipal judicial department, let me back up just a second. The statute provides that except for the legislature, this state or any agency or political subdivision of the state shall not enact or implement any law, rule, or ordinance relating to the possession or storage of firearms other than is provided in the statute. This section does not prohibit a municipal judicial department, law enforcement agency, or prosecutorial agency from prohibiting a deadly weapon pursuant to 133102A10, which means that it can be misconduct involving weapons when someone refuses to remove a weapon. And so the lobby of the police station is can be prohibited, or at least the state law allows a law enforcement agency to prohibit it, weapons in the lobby, in the building.
Mayor.
Please.
I understood the way he's describing secure areas, the way I understood it, as a follow-up to the last conversation we had about certain areas that they were totally prohibited in. And for my part, those are secure. There's lots of good guys with guns, or there's metal detectors with security guards. So I think that's fine as part of a compromise.
Thank you. Please.
And I have one just kind of further clarification. The definition of a concealed weapon to me means it's concealed. Do we need to add any more language? Because I know in the state of Arizona we allow open carry, and you can possibly carry a concealed weapon permit, but you may be open carry. I guess the question would be, when we say concealed weapon, you know, it's invisible to the public. Would that be a correct definition, Mike?
Yes. And even the proposal, as has been amended or has been moved and seconded, would even allow someone with an open carry to not have to put that weapon in a locker if they had a concealed weapon permit. So someone could have a pistol on their hip, and only an officer could ask them to put it in a locker, and that officer could only force that, or the policy is the officer can only force that if that person does not have a concealed weapons permit.
I mean, I wanted to reflect what Mayor Lewis said. If an individual could not see the concealed weapon, that alleviates the fear, which I can agree with that. So I guess, is the language clear enough that a concealed weapon really needs to be concealed where it's not visible?
Mayor, if it's necessary, my motion could include the compromise that a police officer could ask them to conceal it, if that's necessary to get it passed. So I understand the concern.
Okay. And Councilmember Peterson, just to make sure, that was a nice offer. And it sounds like you officially did it.
It's official.
Okay.
I understand the concern, and I understand some compromise needs to be made. So.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure, so let me make that I close the public hearing on 29B. So let's do that. And we have a motion and a second, and so Let's
Mayor,
vote. Okay.
Can I just, I'm going to make a comment before the vote on at least mine. I'm more comfortable with the way the policy was written, with any town staff being able to make that request, and then if there's an issue, calling the police, with the addition of the allowing somebody with a CCW to continue to keep that on their person. So that's kind of where I'm coming from when I vote on this one. And I could amend the motion and go that route. I don't know if there's anyone else that's interested in that.
I think Councilmember Peterson, you did not want to go that direction, did you? Okay. Any other discussion? Let's proceed then. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That's approved with a 6-1 vote. Thank you.
And so, Mayor, members of the council, I will take this policy amended as suggested by Councilman Peterson's language up on the board, add a clause with regards to an officer can ask someone to conceal the weapon, and then proceed to give that to the mayor for the mayor's signature.
And the town leadership will continue to look at the MESA procedures.
Yes, that was included.
Okay, thank you. I open the public hearing on agenda items 30, 31, 32, and there will be a presentation that will summarize those 3 agenda items, please.
Mayor, can I just say thank you? I'm giddy. I'm just saying, I'm giddy. Thank you.
So, Councilmember Peterson, I'm assuming you liked the outcome.
Ecstatic. Thank you.
Council members, you have 15 seconds to stretch if you'd like.
Get a toaster out.
15 seconds to stretch.
TV timeout.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Thank you, Mayor. Arrest him.
Mayor and Council.
Lieutenant Mike, please.
It's okay if I start. My name is Lieutenant Mike Angstead with the Gilbert Police Department here. I supervise our tactical operations section of the Gilbert Police Department. And with me presenting is Brina Mang, who is our police legal advisor. Here to talk to you about escort services and our municipal ordinance as it relates to escorts and escort services. Just a quick overview, it's Town Code Chapter 14, which is actually a business section of our ordinance, Article 8, and it speaks to escorts and escort services. Just a rough overview, a couple points that discuss our current ordinance or the current status of our ordinance. The current ordinance does not specify a procedure for a citizen to obtain an escort bureau license. It also does not require an escort bureau to operate out of an open office or a verified or a verifiable address. What it does do currently is requires individual escorts to hold a license in the town with no specific process to obtain the license. So if we were to talk about a plumber or an electrician that opens up a business here in Maricopa County, typically they'll open up an establishment, say theoretically in Phoenix. They'll get the appropriate licenses and permissions, and they may bid jobs out in other communities. If they accept a job here in Gilbert, as they cross our invisible boundary, they're operating underneath their license in whatever particular city they originate out of. We don't send them to town hall to get an individual license to do a plumbing job in Gilbert. With escorts currently, that is the case. So you may be saying to yourself, that sounds reasonable from a business perspective, but why is the police department up here talking about this? We have an interest in this issue. At any given time, there are well over 200 daily escort advertisements on Backpage.com for the Phoenix area. Backpage is just one of the many websites that escorts can advertise on. And on any random day, there are 20 to 25 specific escorts advertising specifically here in Gilbert. And this is despite the fact that although there's a requirement in our ordinances that you have an individual license to be an escort in Gilbert, nobody has ever contacted the town to obtain a license. Nobody's even ever called over to town government and asked how you would go about getting one. So we know there's a gap there. What I'm showing up on the screen here, and I apologize, it's kind of hard to read, is just a post. This is a cut and paste post out of Backpage.com from last week. And this is a typical escort ad, void of the pictures, which would be distracting in this presentation. But here we have a person claiming to be named Zoe, who claims to be 21. And she writes, "Your favorite bad girl with good intentions. Zoe's here to play. I don't rush, and I'm excellent at everything I do. Here for your time and companionship. My body is a playground, and I have a face of a model. Let me be your dream girl for the night." And she continues. If you look towards the bottom of this posting, it indicates that she works out of Scottsdale, Tempe, Chandler, Gilbert, downtown, and she does outcall, meaning that she will go to a particular location. You will not go to her location. And these are very prevalent on the internet. As you can see, it involves usually multiple cities, but Gilbert is named in several of them. With the Super Bowl coming to the Phoenix metro area in February, it's anticipated that the number of escorts operating in Maricopa County will increase exponentially. The FBI, the Phoenix Police Department, the governor's office, and people like Cindy McCain is an advocate of fighting human trafficking. When they do these studies and they look around at the Super Bowl every year, they find that the communities for which the Super Bowl is coming into, they see a dramatic increase in the number of escorts advertising in the area. So as an example, if we have 200 here in the Phoenix area, it's anticipated there will be well over 1,800 posts for escorts in the weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. And what they've discovered is, on a national level, is that the communities that host the Super Bowl are inundated with women and sometimes men brought into the Super Bowl area because there is a lot of money to be made. And there is also, as a side activity, a lot of human trafficking and a lot of forced prostitution that occurs. Law enforcement often encounters criminal activity, as it says, to include prostitution, robbery, child sexual exploitation, and human trafficking related to unlicensed escorts. And again, just to reiterate, there is a national movement to try and close this gap and make better efforts at enforcing these child prostitution and human trafficking violations. A sampling of cases specific to Gilbert here, a couple cases that we pulled from 2011 to 2014. It lists the crime type, and you'll notice that nowhere on the left side of this chart does it list escort. We don't title our police reports, our investigations, escort violations. So all of these cases were dug out of our report management system, having something to do either with juvenile prostitution or escorts. As you can see, some of these descriptions of what happened list Backpage.com specifically, or other websites, myscarlet.com or cityvibe.com, where people have listed a service as being an escort, and lo and behold, we find out that prostitution is occurring. So with regard to criminal activity committed by unlicensed escorts, it largely goes underreported. So there was a sampling of cases that I just showed in the last slide, but the reality is that citizens that often use escorts and they end up being robbed, or there's some infraction of the law, are very reluctant to call the police. Really, we get called if it's as a last resort, if the person has no other choice. But we often find out that a citizen will contact an escort, they will negotiate some type of illegal activity, and they will be robbed, or there will be a burglary or theft of their home. They will be extorted when their spouse finds out, and that's how we come into contact with these folks. Phoenix Metropolitan Police agencies that conduct proactive enforcement of escort license violations report that they encounter, again, incidents of prostitution, assault, robbery, human trafficking, child prostitution, exploitation on a daily basis. The larger agencies like Phoenix have full-time vice units that tackle these kinds of issues, and they find this very frequently. Brina is going to jump into the actual language for the proposed changes.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Brina Meng, and I'm the police legal advisor. The proposed language that we've done on the escort and escort services licensing is moving it from a vice type investigation to an administrative type investigation. In section 14.431, we've clarified definitions of terms used throughout the ordinance. We found that some of the terms in the current ordinance were insufficient for how the operation of these types of enterprises occurs. For instance, we tightened up the definitions of consideration. Oftentimes, in the current ordinance, it refers to salaries or fees, but as you may guess, some of the language is more coded, and we found in investigations that presents or gifts are offered, and so we've changed that definition to include consideration, which is a more legal term indicating an exchange of anything for value. In section 14.432, we're proposing that the current ordinance be repealed and an insertion of language related to an open office. An open office would be a physical location anywhere in the Phoenix or quite frankly, even Arizona, but it would be a physical location where there would be a person available to make contracts who would be able to adjust consumer complaints, but there would also be a phone number that ends there. Business records would be required to be kept at that particular location. They would include names of the escorts as well as the customers. It would include the locations and other administrative type information. In section 14.451, it would require not only that escorts work with a bureau, it would also require that a specific licensure criteria be followed. In section 14.452, there would be a process. As part of the due process requirements of any governmental license, there needs to be some clarity in terms of what the application criteria consists of, and so section 14.452 would provide that. The information would include the proprietor's information, the administrative type information such as their names, dates of birth, whether they've been convicted of any crimes within the last 5 years for felonies or the last 2 years for crimes of moral turpitude. It would also require affirmative disclosure of the proprietors, whether they've had any similar types of licenses revoked in any other jurisdiction. In section 14.453, it would remove the ability and criminalize acting as an escort without a town license. It would keep the prohibition on sexual activity, but it would require the escort be tied with a bureau. In section 14.454, it would specify the conditions for the granting of a license, and it would include those crimes of moral turpitude, which are defined elsewhere in your code. It would also prohibit people from having crimes within the last 5 years that are felony in nature. In section 14.455, it lists specific criteria that would result in a denial or revocation or suspension of the license, so that way, should there be any license holders within the town, they would know exactly what criteria would cause their license to be in jeopardy. And then in section 14.457, it would prohibit the advertisement of an escort without first obtaining the license. So it would not allow people to advertise or hold themselves out to be an escort without first securing the proper licensure from the town.
Thank you. Any questions at this point? Yes. Okay. Councilmember Daniels.
What if we just didn't want to allow escort services to operate within the town? I'm just thinking of the way that this comes across as Gilbert now allows escort services to operate within the town. I mean, in all reality, I could see that, and that's not our intention, right?
That would be a policy decision that this council could certainly arrive at. The proposed language is drafted in such a way that it would allow some background investigation to be done, assuming anyone actually wants to apply for a license. As Lieutenant Engstead noted, we don't have any licensed escort bureaus in the town. That's something that the councils could certainly consider. I would probably need a bit of time to conduct a little bit of research to see if that would be my inclination is that there is probably some constitutional right for freedom of expression and freedom of association, so First Amendment type, because sexually oriented businesses are protected under the First Amendment. So my inclination at this point is probably that you wouldn't be able to outlaw them as a whole, because, for instance, your current ordinances do allow some types of sexually oriented businesses. If that's the approach that council would like to take, we'd probably need to be doing a bit larger review of the current ordinances.
So we have our non-traditional business license that,
What's that?
yeah, maybe I'll just push pause on that statement. Mike, or Attorney? Yeah.
Mayor, Councilwoman Daniels, Ms. Meng is correct. There would be some freedom association concerns for which research would need to be done, but it's also the case that given the presentation of Lieutenant Engstead, that we need to do something now so that it could be entirely possible to approve what's before you now with regard to escorts and direct staff to review the constitutionality of further amendment or other restrictions.
I'm just thinking about our non-traditional businesses that we have, and there's certain additional rules and regulations they're required to abide by, and recognizing that escort services generally don't operate out of a storefront, at least I've never seen one. I don't know if that type of ordinance could possibly apply as well.
Mayor, council members, one thing that I'd like to point out is in the development of this ordinance, what we've done is taken a look at the best practices of communities all around us on how to best deal with this situation. And what we're trying to do is model our ordinance after other ordinances that have worked in other communities. The problem that we have right now with our existing ordinance, it's unenforceable. What other agencies are telling us is basically Gilbert's wide open, because other communities are cracking down on this. They're cracking down on the human trafficking issue, the prostitution issue, and as a result right now, we have a very difficult time doing any enforcement activities here in Gilbert.
And Councilmember Daniels, I asked a similar question, and that was the feedback I received, that if we do nothing with an event that's about to happen in our valley, that Gilbert will become a target, and so this helps
And is this
avoid some of
ordinance effective immediately?
It is not. It doesn't.
Mayor, no, there's no emergency clause provided. So it would be effective by January 18th, 3 weeks before the Super Bowl.
3?
Be 13 plus 5
Can
would be
we
18
add an
days.
emergency clause and make it effective immediately? I mean, I would imagine someone's going to...
We haven't posted it that way.
Oh, understood.
Thank you. Was there more discussion or more presentation?
There is, Mayor, but that is for the massage as well as the proposed changes to the business licensing ordinance.
Okay. I think to the council, you've read the materials. Do you want just the brief executive summary on the other items, or do you want to go through the whole presentation? Brief. Okay. Councilmember Cooper.
Stretch it out.
All right, so if you could give us the executive summary of the other two topics, and then I think we'll be ready to vote. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, the executive summary on the massage ordinance changes is that there was a group of citizens that brought some materials, a fairly lengthy stack of materials forward to staff members. Some of the changes are regulatory in nature to bring us in compliance with what the current massage licensure statutes are. For instance, it's just changing some of the wording to comply with, to match the state statute. One of the larger changes would allow for a change in, or a required change in hours of operation. Hours of operation are currently closed from midnight to 6 a.m. It would move the clock backwards to 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and that would be required for closure. The other large change is that there would be an administrative or regulatory ability for any federal, state, or local law enforcement entity, including code compliance, fire marshal, whomever, to go in and inspect the premises for compliance with current type of laws, however they may be effective. On the business license changes, it's a change to allow the police department to gather fingerprints on massage license, whether it's a masseuse or a massage business holder license, as well as an escort bureau license, take the fingerprints, transmit them to the Department of Public Safety, who would then transmit them to the FBI for a background investigation that's done with the 10-touch fingerprints.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on that? Vice Mayor Cook?
I asked staff, you know, if we have like legitimate licensed massage businesses, and that number was 29. I didn't realize we had that many with that, but doesn't mean that all 29 have an operation, but at least they had that. The other question was, to me, Chief, do you know how many non-licensed massage locations that you may have come across? Because I heard about this one incident that happened, but are you discovering a lot of them that are not licensed, but they're at, you know, a strip mall area?
Councilman Cook, we have not run into situations where we've run into people without a license. We have, and the particular incident that Brina's talking about earlier was an establishment that had a license. They had the correct business license. Their business practice was illegal, and the employees of the business did not have the proper state license to be masseuse. But they did go through the effort of at least getting the town license in that situation.
Thank you. Councilmember Taylor?
Mayor, thank you. We had the pleasure at the Human Relations Commission to have our own Town of Gilbert resident, Bill Montgomery, present this a few months ago. And they're very supportive of, they didn't see this exact language, but definitely supportive of Bill Montgomery's efforts to prepare jurisdictions for the Super Bowl. And I'm certainly supportive of this and appreciate the work of the police department in this. And just wanted to let you know that the Human Relations Commission was also very supportive of this and looking forward to some additional details. And you know, I'm happy to move this when you're ready for that.
Okay. You're doing such a good job. I think the council is ready to vote. But did any more executive summaries you needed to give?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I close the public hearing on agenda items 30, 31, 32, and will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I would like to move to approve item 30, 31, and 32 as presented in the agenda and in our packets.
Is there a second?
Mayor, I second, and I'll make a quick comment. I see this human trafficking issue as modern-day slavery, and we've got to put a stop to it any way we can. I think this does at least take steps in that direction, so I do thank everyone involved.
Thank you. With that motion, second, please vote. That's approved with a 7-0 vote. Thank you. We move to agenda item 36. This was at my request, and this was information that was sent to us in an email, and I was very impressed. And this also from some of our retreats was at the request of council that we would provide this information, and so we'll take a few minutes for that. Town Manager Banger.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm going to hit upon not the entire report that you have contained in your packet, but just pick some highlights from the report to illustrate some of the things that your town staff has been doing over the last year to look for ways in which we can improve upon our efficiencies and save money and stretch our dollars here at the town of Gilbert. And we strive to do that in large and small ways. And we also try to look for ways in which we can just improve our process services and speed up our turnaround times for our citizens that doesn't always have a dollar amount tied to it. So with that, I'll hit a few items and then happy to answer any questions you may have. I also apologize, I forgot my glasses, so I may be squinting or staring down at this computer screen while I do this. As I said, our program and our focus is to facilitate awareness for the innovative and efficient service delivery in all of our departments, and we demonstrate it through savings quantified through staff time, revenue generation, and measurable savings. In the Office of Communications, to pick one, we utilize interns quite heavily to do a lot of our video shooting and our video editing, and it's a great opportunity for those students of ASU's Cronkite School of Journalism to get some hands-on experience in the rural world. And we estimated through that work that we saved $17,000 in staff time by having them do that. Also, our Spark App League, we involve high school students to help develop applications for our residents and to help them interact with our organization and with our departments to provide enhanced value for them and us, which has been a very worthwhile endeavor and rewarding endeavor for us. We estimated through the recent fire department app that we saved $20,000 by doing that. And then development services, they did put together an expedited plan review, which reduces plan time review by up to 50% for our applicants. In intergovernmental relations, again, a very innovative internship program this time, a Native American internship program in which we have really had the opportunity to work with some stellar students at ASU Poly and other universities that come from Native American backgrounds to immerse them in our organization. They've provided tremendous value to us, and we're also very pleased that we've had corporate sponsorships for this program that have saved us $11,500 that covers the cost of these interns. As well, our electronic patient care reporting in the fire department saves us annually $14,000 in paper costs. Finance and management services, you know, we're always looking for opportunities to refinance and defease our current bond issuances and find savings for our residents. We had 2 issuances in the wastewater revenue refunding and saved approximately $4.8 million on those items. We also had one here just recently in which we saved $2.3 million or $2.2 million in net present value. So we continue to look for those opportunities to save interest costs on our debt issuances. Also, in fleet services, we look at our vehicle maintenance program, and based on working with some of the industry standards as well as manufacturers' recommended service interval times, that we could stretch it out a little bit farther on our vehicles safely, and we're estimating we're saving nearly $50,000 in parts and labor on an annual basis by doing that. We're also doing some things with the vehicles that we do dispose of, such as removing the batteries and reusing the ones that are still good, dismantling those vehicles ourselves as opposed to just auctioning them off whole, which saved us about $18,000 worth of parts and $20,000 in time and resources, as well as doing things like tire removal in vehicles that are being traded out to evaluate their tires and keep the tires that still have a large number of miles left on them and using them in the fleet that will be staying. Information technology, our IT staff reconfigured our automated forms and voicemail system to eliminate $45,000 in annual spending in that area. In Public Works, our wastewater department implemented automatic valve processes that saves us almost $30,000 annually in ongoing labor costs. Office of Management and Budget, our team, as you know, produced a performance benchmark document. Again, there's not a dollar amount tied to that, but that document will allow us to focus in a very finite way in our various service levels and benchmark ourselves against our peer communities to find out how we can enhance the quality of our services and enhance the efficiencies of our services. In our prosecutor's office, they have implemented a system of scanning and importing documents, and it saves staff time by filing all correspondence and discovery documents to a central system that can be accessed more efficiently in a more efficient manner, eliminating man-hour needs to copy and transmit documents to the various agencies. Parks and Recreation, they revitalized a portion of the trail between Val Vista and Lindsay Roads. They painted 1.5 miles of block walls with recycled paint to save $13,000 in cost for paint, with an additional $19,000 in cost for labor through that. We also partner with the Chandler Christian Community Center, and we looked at an opportunity with them at a time when they are not utilizing the van they have for those services to use it for some of our services, saving us about $25,000 in cost avoidance by not having to purchase a van of our own. We've also done some things with our irrigation controller programming, decreasing potable water consumption by 7.5% and saving $4,000 annually. Altogether, these savings total up to the equivalent of 1.275 full-time staff members. We generated $1,364 in additional revenue for the town, and we have total measurable savings of $6.7 million through this program. There's no questions.
It's pretty awesome.
I think call the Jared report.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's wonderful, and I know, as you mentioned, that this is just a few of the highlights. I mean, there's a lot more that you could go into, but definitely appreciate your respect for the taxpayer dollar, and anyways, love the report. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
You know, even on our consent calendar tonight, there were several items that are to be added to that list. So it just keeps going. Vice Mayor Cook?
Well, you know, in the private sector, you know, someone that shows that type of, you know, performance would come back and say, well, you know, I should take 10% of that as part of my fee for finding that. So I'm glad you didn't, you know, make that recommendation tonight.
Mayor, Councilman Cook, that will be coming forward in January.
Remember at will. Remember at will.
Has the Innovation and Efficiency Annual Report been highlighted on our website?
I believe it has, Mayor. If not, I'll make sure it's on there.
Okay, thank you. We're not done yet. We've got 2 more agenda items, but as we close out the calendar year, what a great way to end with that report. Okay. Any other comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And, you know, I'd just like to thank our staff. They're the ones at all levels and all departments of our organization that are making this happen, and we greatly appreciate their efforts.
Thank you. Agenda item 37, Board, Commission, and Committee reports. We move to policy item 38. I believe this is just to approve, so I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And Vice Mayor Cook was the second. With that motion, second, please vote. It's approved with a 7-0 vote. Report from Town Manager on current events.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start tonight by asking Greg Smith to come up to the mic and introduce the town's new Edgar Medina to the Mayor and Council, or otherwise known as our capital projects engineer.
I never met Edgar, so I can't say, but she certainly is a very charming addition to our staff. It pleases Mr. Mayor and members of council to introduce Eliana Hayes as our new Assistant Town Engineer and CIP Manager. Eliana? Joined us from Sugar Land, Texas, so we're excited to have her as another part of our staff. So,
which city in Texas?
Sugar Land.
Sugar Land, okay, great.
Just outside of Houston.
Just outside of Houston, good.
Thank you.
Brought back memories. 30 years ago, we moved from Katy. Thank you. Any other reports to Town Manager Banger?
Yes, Mayor. I'd also like to ask Economic Development Director Dan Henderson to come up and introduce the new Economic Development Department Manager to you.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the council, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Graves as the Gilbert Economic Development Manager. Jennifer holds an undergraduate degree in regional development and a master in science and applied economics, and earned her economic development certification in 2009. She has 14 years of experience, most notably here as an economic development administrator overseeing our business retention and expansion line of service. It's with great pleasure to introduce you to Jennifer Graves. I will make note that she is an Arizona Wildcat, so we should boo her, but we do welcome her to the team.
Thank you. Continue.
Thank you, Mayor. And then to end the year, I had the opportunity to join the Parks Department in one of their monthly staff meetings to just listen to what's going on in the department and meet members of the team that I don't get to interact with on a daily basis, and greatly enjoyed that. And as such, it dawned on me that our staff are doing an incredible amount of work on a regular basis around this organization that doesn't always receive any recognition, or we don't have any awareness of, or it doesn't get the recognition that they deserve. So I've asked everybody to just send me a few things to highlight in their department right now, and I'll start doing this on an ongoing basis so that you can get a better feel for, on a daily basis and a weekly basis, what's going on within this organization. In development services, it's been a long time coming, but they just kicked off the new permitting software process, which should pay huge dividends for our development community and enhanced customer service levels and enhanced responsiveness to them. We're anxious to get that project implemented and online. In human resources, it's with a sad note that I mentioned the passing of one of our coworkers, Jocelyn Marty, who was our recycling outreach coordinator for the town. She passed away on Tuesday, December 9th. She was a valued member of our team since 2007, and that was a very difficult thing for the organization and our employees. I also want to thank our town staff for the great job they did with our Adopt a Family program this year. We adopted 35 families, and were able to provide them with money and clothing and toys that they need for themselves and their children. We were very proud to do so, and I'm very proud of our staff for the great turnout on that. In Parks and Recreation, they had some stats that I thought were impressive that I'd share with you. The number of patrons served in fiscal year 14 for our centers and Southeast Regional Library was almost 1.2 million people served through those facilities. The number of patrons participating in our classes were participating in over 1,200 classes that we offer were 10,289. The number of patrons participating in our drop-in fitness classes at the Freestone Recreation Center was 32,650. And the Gilbert Adult Softball Program in 2014 had 310 registered teams in our 3 seasons. In public services, you may have noticed that we are getting the water features in the Gilbert Heritage District back online. Currently, we have 2 of the pools have been restored, and we should have the 3rd one up and running by early 2015. And then last Tuesday, the Water Conservation Division hosted a special event for 126th graders from Settlers Point Elementary School to help make Civic Center more water efficient by conducting chaperoned experiments. By the end of the day, the 6th graders made the restrooms in Muni 1 and Muni 2 more water efficient by swapping out our old restroom sink faucet aerators that flow at 2.2 gallons per minute with new high-efficiency faucet aerators that flow at 1 gallon per minute, saving the town roughly 96,000 gallons of water a year, which was very nice of them. And our unified holding facility that you approved earlier this year came online and went operational December 1st. We have had 455 people come through this already. The average turnaround time for our officers to process people through that was 20 minutes, and I believe before that, when we were taking them down to 4th Avenue, it was approximately an hour and 45 minutes. So we're already seeing that pay huge dividends for our community. So with that, I'll conclude my report, Mayor.
Now, on all these statistics with Parks and Rec and those participating in programs, I think the council needs to be aware that our town manager has signed up. Next January, he'll be participating in the 35 and older basketball league. Go get him, Patrick.
I did try to sign up for the 65 and older league, and they rejected my application.
I thought you were going to say you signed up for Zumba.
And today, midday, there was an activity at a 4-story building.
Oh, yes, we had the topping off ceremony for the St. Xavier Building in the Heritage District. That is a traditional ceremony in which the last piece of structural steel is put into place on the building, and we take a day to stop and thank the trades for their hard work and reflect upon the progress we've made to date. And that project continues to be running substantially ahead of schedule, so we're very pleased with the progress, and it was exciting to reach that milestone today.
Thank you. Report from town council members. Councilmember Peterson.
I'll just comment briefly on that water-saving audit that the sixth graders from Settlers Point Elementary participated in. That was a great event, and I had to chuckle at the briefing that I received. Somebody knew who I was, because right off the bat they told me how much we spent on the aerators, and it was $13. And we are going to make back over $400 in a year. So don't worry, Councilmember Peterson. We'll make our money back in less than 2 weeks. It was awesome. So they had me sold all the way around. It was a great event, Mayor.
Good. Thank you. Councilmember Daniels.
I just wanted to compliment our Development Services Director, Kyle Mearis, and his team. They have recently mitigated, with the assistance of one of our new businesses in town, Topgolf. There was some serious concerns about the lights, and the partnership already and the comments that have been made about the town staff and their willingness to work with our business to make sure that their needs are met, our residents' needs are met, and the community's needs are met. I know that's evident of the culture in Gilbert, and it doesn't just exist in development services, but it was a great example to me. I witnessed Kyle working with residents and was just thrilled that we had someone of that caliber on our team, and I know that again is evident of our team in Gilbert. And just a moment of pride, and I know that business, Topgolf, is happy as well. So all around, everyone got what they needed.
Mayor, but to your credit, Councilmember Daniels, you took a very direct hand and leadership in that. So our hat's off to you as well. And that is a very impressive example of how we've handled business. And so I just want you to know I appreciate that. I think we all do.
Thank you. So Vice Mayor Cook, are you going to take the hat off or not? No, I think we're at that point. The last agenda item report from the mayor. I've covered my items. I think it would be fitting on this historic night to let Councilmember Cooper have the last word, and if the word starts with an A, that could be in the minutes. But is there any other word you wanted to give?
Happy holidays. Adjourned.
Adjourned. Thank you.